Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are joining us from. Welcome back here to the Launch Pad. My name is Zachary Albert, and I'm the host here at the Pad, and you are watching our live launch coverage of Blue Origin NS-15, the 15th launch of the New Shepard rocket. And just like anything is with testing, Blue Origin just tweeted that they are in a hold and will update with a new targeted launch time soon. We would have been just short of T-minus 70 minutes and counting. So we're going to be sitting out, probably hanging out for a little bit until we get an update from them on whether they're going to continue with an attempt today or not. But as we're getting started, let us know in the chat where you are watching from. If this is your first time watching a Blue Origin launch, this is the 15th launch of the Blue Origin New Shepard series. New Shepard will be their orbital launch vehicle to take people up on just very quick trips. They average about 10 minutes from launch till actually landing for it to give you just a couple minutes of microgravity and passing that Kármán line by about 20,000 kilometers. For it, again, if you're just joining us, we just had an update from Blue Origin that they are having a hold for it, but we are hanging out to see an update here. We're going to go through a little bit more about New Shepard and the rocket and everything. If you are following us over on Twitter or Facebook, we just released our launch infographic of the vehicle and today's launch. Good morning, Marcus. We're just in a hold right now. So this is NS-15. This is the 15th launch of the New Shepard vehicle. The booster they'd be using today is NS-4. This would be the second flight after we saw the first successful flight of it just a couple of months ago. This is going to be their second launch for this year. Blue Origin is working at Kennedy Space Center on their new pad to prepare for their new Glenn rocket, which is going to be their large cargo and probably eventually crew payload orbital vehicle to low Earth orbit, to the moon, and other things there. Not too sure when we're going to be seeing a test of that. Probably be a couple years after we see New Shepard go into service. But if you're interested in New Shepard, head on over to their website. They have opened up where you can sign up to be updated when flight opportunities become available to get that information, the pricing, and everything there. The New Shepard vehicle carries 6 people, actually very comfortably. You get 10 times the room that Alan Shepard had when he went up in the Mercury Redstone. And it's a 10-minute journey from launch until landing. Their testing location is at Corn Ranch in Texas. They have dubbed the site Launch Site 1 for it, and the spacecraft is going to be going on a suborbital trajectory. So it's going to go up really fast and then down really fast. So it's not going to be able to achieve orbit, but it will be crossing the Kármán line. This is a fully 100% reusable rocket. The booster launches, separates, comes back down, and then a couple minutes later, the booster does as well. The booster will land about 3.3 kilometers away from the launch site. There's no new fairings or anything with this type of vehicle. And this is, as I said, the second flight of this rocket. So it's already proven itself for it. And we're just keeping an eye out from Blue Origin on what they're going to be saying with why they have had a hold here this morning for it, as they were just coming up on that T-minus 60-minute mark. One big thing that was going to be different with today's launch kind of sequence was that they were actually going to be doing crew testing. So they were going to be going over the verification of how they board astronauts, how they get them all strapped in, make sure everything's set up for them, and then just before launch, they were going to remove them and then actually launch the vehicle. It's very possible that this was going to be the last non-crewed New Shepard flight we would see, and then that would open it up for certification, and then eventually, obviously, paying commercial passengers, which a lot of people have mentioned. New Shepard, we have seen 15 missions. This is going to be the 15th mission, but we have also seen these 15 missions over 5 years. It was over 5 years ago that we saw the first successful landing of a New Shepard rocket. And I think it's just because they need to be safe. If you look at SpaceX, they had the Falcon 9 running for years before they strapped on their crew capsule and went through that process. And with this one, it is very much specific to taking crews or small payloads just on that very quick journey with microgravity for it. You don't reach full zero gravity during this launch just because of how quickly you're at apogee for it and at the speed that you are targeting. But yeah, we're just waiting for an update here from Blue Shepard. 15 minutes ago, they said they were go for launch, and then they entered a hold about 7 minutes later. So they were waiting to see what was happening. A couple of their statements for today's launch was building on the incremental mission successes for the vehicle over the course of the program's flight history. NS-15 is a verification step prior to flying astronauts soon. The mission will execute a rehearsal of astronaut movements and timing for future astronaut flights. One of the primary operations will entail Blue Origin personnel, astronauts, entering the capsule prior to launch. These astronauts will climb aboard the launch tower, get into their seats, buckle their harnesses, close their capsule hatch, and conduct a communications check from their seats with Capcom, the capsule communicator. Then they will exit the capsule prior to launch. Post-capsule landing, the astronauts will rehearse hatch opening and exiting the hatch at the landing site. So they'll reboard it and then rehearse that. Inside of the launch today, though, there will still be our good old friend Mannequin Skywalker, as well as 25,000 postcards from the Club for the Future program, which is a not-for-profit Blue Origin does that anyone can be part of, where you can send your postcard up to space, officially across that Kármán line, and then they will actually send it back to you. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome back here to the launch pad. You are here for our live launch coverage of NS-15, the Blue Origin New Shepard rocket. We were targeting a launch time in just over an hour, but Blue Origin did just tweet that they are having a hold and will announce a new launch time here shortly. What I'm going to do in the meantime as we wait for an update is we're just going to pull up what their last launch looked like to give us a better idea of kind of what we can expect to see during this sequence here. They have released a few other videos over the course of their series here. We're just going to pull this up here. And make sure people know that this is so this you're currently seeing was from their NS-14 mission just a couple of months ago. It's going to be very almost identical to what we are going to expecting to see here today with NS-15 for it. You can see really well the size of the capsule as well as the booster. It's not a super tall booster. Where normally, we're used to Falcon 9s or things. This booster is 15 meters tall or 49 feet tall, and it's 12 feet in diameter. The capsule is just slightly larger at the top there, and then the landing legs are hidden into the booster and will deploy right before they see touchdown. There's a great shot of the capsule for it. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome. We are currently in a hold for today's launch of NS-15, so we're taking a look back at what we saw with NS-14, which today is going to be pretty identical, except probably prior to this point in the countdown, we would have been seeing crew boarding, rehearsals, and then crew departure, as this is a verification flight today to prepare for Blue Origin possibly having astronauts aboard their flight on NS-16. If you're just joining us, let us know in the chat where you're watching from.
All right, everybody, welcome back for New Shepard's 14th mission to space. You see the gantry retracting there. We are getting ready for a launch, Patrick. This is when it gets really exciting. All right, we have thrown the show over to the rocket. She is in autonomous mode right now. We're waiting to see the final hydraulic system checks and engine gimbal check. There you go. You see the aft fins, making sure they've got full clearance there. There are 4 fins on the base of that rocket. You want to check these aerodynamic surfaces and systems before flight. This is just exactly what a pilot does on an aircraft. Waiting here for the engine gimbal check. You see the nozzle there peeking out. There it goes. The engine is also obviously to propel the rocket, but is critical in guiding the rocket on its ascent, but as well as on its descent as it comes into land on the northern landing pad just 2 miles north of where the rocket is taken off from. All right, and that takes us to launch. Lieutenant Control, here we go, New Shepard. Have a great flight, Mannequin Skywalker. Enjoy that shiny new capsule, and we'll see you back home soon at Launch Site 1.
So what we're watching now was the first flight of NS-4. That's the booster, they were launching a brand new capsule as well. This was the first capsule that was fully spec'd out and
10,
was
9, 8,
good for flight
7,
for astronauts.
6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1. Ignition.
They hold it for a minute, make sure they have enough thrust, and then they release. Now, very quick flight with landing. It's about 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, look at her go. Mission Control has confirmed New Shepard has cleared the tower on her way to space from Launch Site 1 in the West Texas desert with Mannequin Skywalker on board.
You did hear that right.
Now, the fins on the aft portion of the vehicle are going to help the vehicle do its roll maneuver. The booster is going to be rolling at about 2 to 3 degrees per second, which equates to a full rotation of the vehicle every 2 to 3 minutes. This, of course, is to give the astronauts a 360-degree view during the flight. All right, coming up here on max Q, maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket. It's the toughest portion of the flight for the rocket. And we've confirmed max Q. Excellent. All right, you can see on the top right side of your screen, that's where you can follow along as we're gaining speed as she climbs up towards space. In the bottom left corner is the altimeter, noted in feet above ground level, although you may have noticed at liftoff we were sitting at 3,700 feet above mean sea level. That's the altitude of our West Texas launch site. Now, Mannequin Skywalker in there, starting to feel those Gs, around 3.5 Gs on the way up to space. It's very similar to a roller coaster, but in that horizontal position of the seats, definitely is a much more comfortable ride. All right, now approaching main engine cutoff, or MECO. So we're going to shut off the BE-3 engine. MECO is confirmed. Now you'll notice that the booster and the capsule are continuing as their combined ascent to space. As you watch the altitude continue to speed is dropping, of course, as it no longer has the propulsion from the BE-3 engine.
I'm going to cut in here quickly. Again, if you're just joining us, we are currently in a hold for today's NS-15 launch from the New Shepard, from Blue Origin of their New Shepard rocket with crew Capsule. We're waiting an update from Blue Origin on if they are going to be resuming the count or what's going on. About 15 minutes ago, they announced the hold and said they would announce a new target launch time soon. So they haven't scrubbed yet. But while we're waiting, we're taking a look back at some of their previous flights. This was NS-14 from about 2 months ago. If you are new here to the launch pad, welcome. Make sure you join us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and we're going to keep listening in here.
And as we've noted in previous flights, if you follow along on the speed on the top right corner, as soon as that speed hits 0, that's when you know that the rocket and the capsule have hit its apogee point, the highest point in the flight of the rocket. There you go, it's hit 0, and now they are heading back home. We should have an unofficial apogee altitude coming up here shortly. But we have gone well over 100 kilometers, the Kármán line, the official line of space, and there it is, 350,827 feet above, I believe, mean sea level, so that is excellent. A great flight. Well over the Kármán line. Anakin Skywalker is an astronaut once again. Now the capsule should be continuing to do its slow spin. Everybody gets a window seat in the capsule of New Shepard, but now we're making sure everybody gets the perfect view. All right, the two craft are heading back home now. The booster is going to beat the capsule back home. Obviously, it's more aerodynamically shaped, and so it's going to come down first. Right about now, in the next 10 to 15 seconds or so, this is when we expect the rocket to hit atmospheric pierce point. That means that's when it's coming back in, and it's back home from space, and it has enough air pressure upon which it can use its aerodynamic surfaces to push, and that will help guide the rocket back to its landing pad, again, 2 miles north of where it's taken off from. We have confirmation that the wedge fins have been deployed. Those fins are at the forward section, the top section of the rocket. They're housed in the ring fin. They also help provide stability for the rocket as it comes into land. And this booster is screaming home right about now. Its maximum return velocity is just under Mach 4.
So a quite fascinating part of the New Shepard rocket here to watch is how it slows down. You can see here, I'm going to quickly pull our little hold thing down. You can see the altitude in the bottom left corner there. Watch how late they ignite this one engine to slow it down. The BE-3 engine restarts, and that will deploy the landing gear and slow the booster down for a soft touchdown. It basically comes to a point of even a hover to make sure it's over its landing target area, and this has worked every time. So very interesting system, slightly different than what we see with the Falcon 9, where it comes down and has a soft touch. This one actually gets to pretty much a hover point. To make sure it can come over. And they always have these cool angles too. And see, there's that hover point, and it's actually going to bring itself back over towards the landing pad. This time it landed kind of on the edge of the pad, I believe, for it, but a nice, very soft touchdown at just 5 miles per hour there.
Oh, you can hear our team back here at headquarters enjoying this moment for this rocket. What a day. Did a nice little maneuver there to bring it back to the center of the pad, but that is what we're looking for. A completely autonomous system, Patrick. That never gets old. That's the type of stuff that makes live rocket launches and landings so exciting.
I know. Every time I see that booster come back, it's just like your heart's in your throat. But it's so exciting to see it actually come back and just perfectly land down there.
Well, thank you for joining us, Bob. How was Kennedy Space Center today? We look forward to hopefully being down there later this year once the borders open.
Over.
That's right.
We still are waiting here for the crew capsule to come back.
It's about
As
2
noted,
minutes.
first the drogue chutes will deploy. Those are like the guide parachutes. The main.
About 2 minutes following the booster touchdown is when the crew capsule touched down. Obviously, it just has a bit of a larger edge, so it's a slightly slower descent to it. You can see that speed there. Descends very similar to like a Soyuz or a Crew Dragon under drogue chute and then main chute deployment. And they always have some great views of the landing here as well from some drone shots and a helicopter. So we're going to listen in here.
The retrothrust system fires, and it creates a nice pillow, air pillow, if you will. So Mannequin Skywalker, by the time he touches down, it's just at about 1 mile an hour. It's a nice, soft touchdown. And there we go. The crew capsule has its mains deployed, fully inflated. What an incredible day for the team. What a beautiful shot. You know, Mannequin Skywalker, I mean, if he had adrenaline, his heart would be thumping pretty hard. What a day. All the way up over the Kármán line and back. Coming in for a nice soft cruise back into our West Texas Valley there. Just about 400 feet above ground level. We're waiting for the retrothrust systems to fire. And then a nice soft landing. And touchdown. What a day.
So this is identical to what we were expecting to see here today, but obviously we are currently in a hold. We have no updates yet from Blue Origin on what we're expecting to see from today's launch, waiting for that new T0 time. But if you're just joining us again, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the Launch Pad, and here at the Pad we cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, and the future of space and STEM. And we are thrilled that you're here with us. If you're new, make sure to join us over on our YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, really helps us out. We do a lot of different things. We do our live launch landing testing coverage like we are today. We're relaunching our weekly updates this week. We also do exclusive one-on-one interviews and sit-downs with crews, astronauts, and many other amazing people. And we've got some exciting interviews coming up here in the next few weeks. If you have an idea of someone you think we should interview, tweet us at @TLPN_official on Twitter. And in the description below, you should be able to find a link to our Discord if you want to plug in kind of behind the scenes, get to know what happens here at the launch pad, help make decisions on future videos or scripting, lots of options there. And also in the link is our brand new Launchpad store. Head on over to our brand new Etsy store, use the code LaunchDay, get 10% off of everything in the store. A lot of options. We've got some new Blue Origin inspired stuff coming out a little bit later today, but some great Starship, SpaceX, NASA, Launchpad originals, and stuff you can check out there. Many more things coming soon. So make sure you favorite the Etsy store and join us there. But while we're waiting for an update, if you have any questions about Blue Origin or SpaceX or anything there, let us know in the chat. We're just going to be hanging out. So we watch. I might pull up another video here from Blue Origin of a little bit more information about the new Shepard facility and what we can be expecting there for that. First video we're going to pull up here is just showing, we'll probably loop it for a little bit, but it'll be the new Shepard vehicle of just what it's like on the actual inside of the vehicle here. It's a really stunning capsule, lots of room in it so that you'll be comfortable during your 10-minute journey, have time to do a couple remove from your seat, do a couple flips while you're in that microgravity, or just kind of experience that before you start your descent back to the Earth's surface. Everyone gets their own personalized communication panels, chair, and everything in the Blue Origin crew capsule. You have 10 times the room that Alan Shepard had when he launched, so very spacious capsule with those beautiful large windows. During launch, the booster actually will slowly rotate the capsule and the booster itself to ensure that you always have a full 360-degree view as you slowly rotate during flight there. Yeah, a couple quick looks there inside their capsule from Blue Origin. They released that about a year ago when they first gave us the first kind of looks into what their capsule would be like. But at this point, I think we're probably going to take just a quick little break as we haven't heard any updates yet from Blue Origin. What we'll do is we will leave some videos running here. I'll be here as well. So if you have any questions, let us know in the chat here. On if you have any, it can be anything about Blue Origin, SpaceX, Starship, Falcon 9, so many different things that have been happening and announced over the last couple of weeks as we're waiting to see SN-15, not NS-15, but SN-15 get ready for it. It's started its testing, and hopefully we'll see a launch here in the next kind of week, 10 days for it. As well, we have the fourth last Delta Heavy launch coming up here at the end of the month, as well as Crew 2. Currently, the space station is the busiest it has ever been, with the crew of 10. And once the, what is it? I believe it's MS-17 leaves, then Crew 2 will launch and board, and we will be up to a crew of 11. So a very busy time at the space station, and then Crew 1 will depart shortly after that. So a very busy time at the space station, starting off kind of this new standard for the International Space Station of many crews as we await the first launches of kind of commercial crews or tourists, which will be happening end of this year, early next year. We see Inspiration 4 is targeting September 15th for the launch of the first ever all-civilian mission to space. And then we have Axiom Space with a couple launches scheduled, Space Adventures, and a few others all through 2022 as things will really pick up, as well as Russia's got some tourists and an actress planned. There was a SpaceX mission with Tom Cruise planned. So lots of things happening in the very near future as space really starts to open up. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome here to the Launchpad. My name's Zach. You're watching our live launch coverage of New Shepard mission NS-15 from Blue Origin. You keep seeing me look over. I'm just looking to see if we have any updates from Blue Origin on the whole, but we have nothing as of yet. Lots of people kind of sitting around waiting for it. Someone did mention earlier some of the sets in the background. We do have the brand new Lego Space Shuttle here. We completed that through 3 live stream buildings over on our YouTube channel. If you want to come hang out, see us there. We're working on a review of all of the sets, and we're very excited to have some more models arriving very soon here in the studio, and some special offers for you guys as well if you're interested in picking up a model. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Plug in on Discord. The link should be in the description or the comments if you want to get access to those promo codes early in the next couple of weeks and stuff there as well. So lots of things coming up here on the Launchpad. We're working on the final details for our sit down with the full crew of Inspiration 4, as well as some other people. But again, if you have a suggestion of someone you want to see us sit down, we're launching our new series of interesting people, amazing stories, and inspiring adventures. So if you know someone that kind of qualifies of that in space or STEM, let us know in the comments here or over on Twitter or Facebook, and we would love to try to connect with them and get to ask your questions to them on what you wish you knew more about them. But we're going to take a quick little break here as we wait for an update from Blue Origin. Again, if you have a question, let us know in the chat. But as we wait, we're going to sit back here and just take a watch of the last NS-13. Well, why don't we go back and watch the first one? Let's do that one, if they still have that video up here, which does not look like they do. So we're going to go back and we're going to take a look actually at this view here, which is going to be the view from Mannequin Skywalker during a full flight. So we're going to take a quick little break. We'll be back here, and you're watching our live launch coverage of NS-15 of the new Shepard rocket from Blue Origin here on the Launchpad. I'll be right back. And just like that, we end that video, and we have an update from Blue Origin. They're going to be going live here in about 10 minutes. They have cleared the hold. They didn't give an update on what it was, so maybe we will hear in their webcast, but they are currently about 10 minutes away from starting up their stream with the new T0 at 8:56 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 11:56 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 15:56 UTC. So we are coming up on that T-minus. We are at T-minus 72 minutes and counting for the launch of Blue Origin New Shepard NS-15. We know many people stepped away, so if join us with us, share the broadcast, let people know that we are back on the clock and things are progressing towards today's test. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome back here to the launch pad. My name is Zach. I'm the host here at the pad. You're watching our live launch coverage of New Shepard's Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket carrying their crew capsule into a suborbital trajectory across the Kármán line. Anakin Skywalker will be on board carrying another 25,000 postcards to space here today. Big test of that today is not actually the launch itself, but what's leading up to the launch and then following touchdown of the crew capsule. Today, Blue Origin will be testing and simulating what it's like to have a crew arrive at the pad, be suited up, board the capsule, strap in, connect comms, do radio checks, everything like that as if they were going to go for the flight. And then just before launch, the crew will vacate the capsule and leave the pad for launch. Following touchdown of the capsule, the crew will actually re-arrive at the capsule. We're believing that they'll reboard, strap back in, and then they'll do a rehearsal of what it's like to actually empty a crew out officially as if they had gone to space. So this is very much what is expected to be the final test of the crew capsule system before we may see Blue Origin go and attempt to have astronauts join them on a flight as they prepare to get certified to open up to commercial passengers. If you head over to Blue Origin's website, they have also opened up a sign-up form to know more information about when they'll send you an email when you can reserve your seat and book it, how many seats that you would want to do. Maybe you want to take the whole family, take all 6 seats and go to space together. Or maybe you want to, send your crazy aunt or cousin to space too. So lots of options for it. A nice quick flight, 10 minutes from launch to landing. So for those that are a little maybe more hesitant about going to space for days on end, this is a really great option of getting to experience just some microgravity, see the change in, having that overview effect of passing the Kármán line and looking down on Earth. Obviously, very different altitude orbit compared to the International Space Station or what we're seeing with Crew Dragon, but it's a really great stepping stone. And if you think about how we travel here on Earth with flights, you've got your kind of regional, and then you got your international, your cruises, same idea. You got your 1 or 2 day cruise, and then you got your year-long cruises. So this is very much something that I think will be a stepping stone for many people, kind of dipping their foot into wanting to go to space and having that opportunity. Obviously, with the size of rocket, can take 6 people. It's a fully reusable rocket. It'll be a much cheaper option. Prices haven't been released just as of yet of what it'll cost to go. But we're just waiting for Blue Origin to go live here in about 7 minutes. If you have a question, let us know in the chat. Once their stream starts up, we'll be listening in, jumping in to answer questions as well. I said it a couple times this morning, but if you want to go behind the scenes, join us in our Discord. The link is in the description. We're live in our behind the scenes comm channel right now. So we've been talking with them as we took a little break, as well as check out the link in the chat for the brand new The Launchpad shop over on Etsy. Use promo code LAUNCHDAY. Any day it's a launch, and you can get 10% off everything there. Brand new store, lots of amazing new items. We want to give a shout out to our first order over in Glasgow. It's on its way, and we hope you enjoy it. And we look forward to hearing from you and many others on and seeing you in your gear. You can show it to us over in Discord. Show us what you pick up. So lots of exciting things happening here at the pad. New videos coming very soon to the channel, so make sure you've subscribed to us over on YouTube. But yeah, as we pick up again, let us know in the chat where you are watching from, if this is your first Blue Origin launch. And we're just going to run through a little bit about what today's launch is before Blue Origin goes live. So it's April 14th, 2021, and we're currently coming up at that T-minus 65-minute mark for today's launch of the Blue Origin New Shepard rocket carrying their crew capsule just over the Kármán line. The mission is NS-15, and today's booster is New Shepard 4. So this is the fourth iteration of the Shepard rocket. New Shepard 3 carried a number of flights repetitively, and this is the second flight for New Shepard 4. New Shepard 4 flew about 2 months ago on NS-14, another uncrewed suborbital flight that went extremely well. We just rewatched that flight actually about 20 minutes ago. The launch location is in the United States. It's at Launch Site 1 in Texas. And there's no real payload mass today. It's carrying 25,000 postcards from Blue Origin's, I believe it's For the Future program, that you can check out over on their website, as well as Mannequin Skywalker, who we got to see what his experience was like just a few minutes ago from the last launch. They will be attempting to recover the rocket because that is what Blue Origin does. New Shepard 4 will land about 2 minutes prior to the capsule. It will land just over 3.3 kilometers away from where it launched from, and we'll be able to watch all of that once they start their live stream. This is the 15th launch, NS-15, of a New Shepard rocket, the second flight of New Shepard 4, and the second flight for Blue Origin in 2021. And they plan to always go live about 1 hour prior to launch, and they will be including the astronaut rehearsal activities from what we've been hearing for this. I'm wondering if the hold had to do with something there. Maybe someone was late, needed the washroom. Let's be real. It happens. Wouldn't you be nervous strapping into a rocket just before it launches, even though you're not going with it? So maybe hopefully we'll hear something on their stream about what's going on with it. Currently, the highest point of the kind of ballistic trajectory that the New Shepard rocket goes is about 119 kilometers or 74 miles. That's the record that they've hit for them. So they go just over the Kármán line to officially get you into space for it, and you're there for just a couple of minutes experiencing microgravity. Again, a little bit more information on kind of the astronaut rehearsals that we're expecting. This is the first time Blue Origin in any vehicle will be doing this, but Blue Origin staff members will be the stand-in astronauts for every phase of today's launch operations, except for when it's actually launching. Prior to launch, these astronauts will enter the capsule and perform communications checks with the Blue Origin Capcom, and the hatch will actually even close. The astronauts will exit just prior to liftoff and leave the pad. Shortly after the landing of the crew capsule, the astronauts will again re-enter the capsule, close the hatch again, as if they were the crew on board, and then recovery teams will arrive on site and rehearse recovery efforts, which would include a crew inside. Should everything go nominal today, Blue Origin is expected to be able to progress towards having astronauts during flight, and we could be seeing that in just the next couple of months. On board, as always, is Mannequin Skywalker. He is the test dummy for Blue Origin, and he records different acoustics, G-forces, and different things to really know how launch, flight, and landing are for an actual person. He has communication equipment, so they can see the crew displays and everything and make sure everything is operating well there. The New Shepard crew capsule doesn't actually have a name in itself. It can carry 6 people in the 15-meter square or 530 square feet interior. And the main goal is just to open up microgravity and to see the curvature of the Earth to the general public. Each launch window lets through about 92% of clear visible light. So it is still safe to go into space for it, but you can still see, and these are very large windows. We'll see some live views here once Blue Origin goes live here in about 60 seconds. And we got a question here from Ailden. So you said it's not an actual launch, just a load and unload. So they're going to load, unload, launch, land, and then load, and then unload again. So a little bit different than what we've seen with some other companies doing testing. Normally they test, and then they just do a full flight for it. This one, slightly different, but we will be seeing a launch today, absolutely. We're currently sitting at about T-minus 60 minutes. Until that, we're going to make sure we got Blue Origin pulled up here. Keep mixing up their names. And we're waiting for them to introduce their New Glenn rocket as well here in the future. They're working at Kennedy Space Center on building that pad. And yeah, we're just waiting for their live stream to go. But if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're watching our live launch coverage of Blue Origin's New Shepard NS-15 launch and crew test here today, or on the ground crew test, we should say. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. If you're new, make sure to hit the like or the subscribe button, as we have many different videos here at the pad. We cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, and the future of space. We took a little bit of a break, and we're coming back full force this week. We're going to have a new weekly update and be resuming those. Those are going to be coming out very shortly. Our interviews will be resuming soon as well, so lots of exciting things coming here in the very near future. We're just waiting on Blue Origin to start up their feed. We haven't seen any more tweets from them about any holds, so that's a good thing, as they are progressing and are currently now sitting at that T-minus 60 minutes until launch for it. So it's going to be obviously a very quick load and unload, as they did say they were planning on showing that. So we'll see at what point the crew is at when they actually go live here. But lots of things happening here this morning. Again, if you have a question, let us know in the comments. Use hashtag AskTLP. Make sure that we're able to see it and share the broadcast. Let people know. And they have gone live here. We're going to pull up their video right now for you guys.
The human need to explore is deep in all of us. Our ancestors crossed mountain ranges, sailed open 2, 1. And liftoff.
Oh, yeah.
Blue moon. They'll remember these bold steps. We are of Blue Origin. Touchdown. And this is just the beginning.
So that is a great question we have from Raymond. What altitude are they planning on climbing to before descent? So the record they have gone to is 119 kilometers or 74 miles. We're going to listen in here as they give us an update.
Everyone, we're here in our Kent, Washington headquarters, and today is a very special day. In addition to flying a rocket into space and back, which is exciting in itself, we're actually going to be doing a dress rehearsal for our astronaut experience. So what does that mean exactly? We're going to have Blue Origin employees standing in for actual astronauts, going through all of the astronaut movements we're going to be doing in the future, including loading into our New Shepard crew capsule on the launch pad while it's fully fueled and ready to go.
Exactly, Patrick. Our stand-in astronauts are currently finishing last-minute preparation in our astronaut training center, and we expect them to merge at about T-minus 45 minutes, so coming up in about 12 minutes here. And of course, we're going to follow all the action as it unfolds. Now, to be clear, today there are going to be no humans on board flying to space, but everything leading up to that moment will be rehearsed under actual conditions. But before we get into today's details, we want to put some context around the entire New Shepard program and help define what step-by-step ferociously truly means. And there's nobody better to tell that story than Gary Lai. So Gary has been here at Blue Origin for over 17 years, and we call him the architect of New Shepard. We asked him to articulate how each launch has gotten us to today's moment, with safety, of course, at the heart of everything that we do.
For New Shepard, we've been following an aggressive step-by-step approach from the beginning. Because it is a robotic vehicle, we have the advantage of being able to take it through an entire flight test program to make sure it's safe for astronauts. We think it's very important not only to show that we have a very robust design, but that we can repeat the feat over and over again until we are satisfied that we have enough data to fly people on it. That we have enough data to fly people on it. The first time we flew New Shepard, it went to space, and we demonstrated every single aspect of the operation of the capsule for re-entry, parachute deployment, and that mission was 100% successful for the capsule. M2 was about taking what we learned from that mission, rolling in changes, and trying it again.
Engine start, we have thrust. Touchdown.
This time we stuck the landing, but we wanted to do more than just show that it was possible one time, but we needed to show we could do it again. So that was what M3 was. We turned around the vehicle as quickly as possible and we flew it again to show that we could do it again in a relatively short amount of time. For M4, we pushed the envelope. We executed aerodynamic maneuvers on the propulsion module and crew capsule on re-entry to really understand what they were capable of doing. The way that we land the propulsion module today, doing it just lighting the engine just seconds before it would impact the ground and doing this controlled landing, we perfected it at that time.
Human safety is fundamental to the design of both of the vehicles, but especially the crew capsule.
The capsule is the most highly redundant and safe space flight system we think that has ever been designed or flown. Every detail on that capsule, no matter how small, has been thought through carefully. We also did not compromise on fault tolerance, and that's the idea that you have redundancy, that if a system fails, you have a backup system, and in most cases, you have a backup to the backup system. For instance, the capsule is designed to be safe for astronauts if only one of the three main parachutes opens. And so we wanted to test that in real life on M5. So in M5, we intentionally did not deploy one of the main parachutes. In that situation, the retro rocket actually compensates for the higher descent rate by adjusting the amount of thrust, and it worked perfectly. Now, if the capsule is going down way too fast because it has only one parachute opening, then our third and fourth safety systems engage, which is a crushable section, sort of like a bumper. Then the seats have a scissor mechanism underneath them that has further energy absorption. The capsule has an escape system, which is designed in case there is something wrong detected on the propulsion module to get the astronauts away and get them to safety.
From the moment that we have closed the hatch, we can go escape enabled. And from that moment on, being this full envelope escape, we have very high confidence that we can keep people safe.
We've done a pad escape test where we can show that the capsule can launch and escape if there is an anomaly or an accident on the pad. The M6 mission was about testing that at its most stressing condition. We ignited the solid rocket motor in flight and showed that we could recover the capsule safely. For M7, what we introduced was a new capsule design that included the very large windows, seats, control systems on board that would control the environment in the cabin. That was the very first mission for that combined vehicle stack, and it was successful. M8 was just a repeat of M7 largely. And then the third escape test was to show that we could escape in space. So on M9, the propulsion module boosted the capsule to space, and after separation, the capsule lit off its solid rocket motor and re-entered and landed safely.
We've demonstrated with pad escape and the in-flight escape, transonic escape, that capsule escape system is solid.
Between M9 and M13, we are flying payload missions for customers, giving us even more and more confidence in the capability of the New Shepard system. 13 was a perfect flight. and we're preparing for the M14 mission, which will just be another verification and check. The overall mission of Blue Origin has remained completely the same. We are here to build the road to space.
Wow, that was a truly inspiring video and a lot of great stuff from Gary. You know, anytime he opens his mouth, I just sit up and listen because I know I'm going to get some knowledge dropped on me here.
That man is a well of knowledge, that is for sure.
Yeah, so as we can tell from that video, what Gary's been saying, it perfectly sets the stage and the context for why this astronaut experience rehearsal matters and how it fits in with the broader scope of this new Shepard launch and campaign.
Agreed, Patrick. Gary in that video really helps us understand the how and the why of what we do here at Blue Origin. And today, we're doing a lot. Okay, so let's get into it and discuss the overview of the astronaut experience once we do start flying people. So here we go. First, the astronauts will arrive 3 days before flight. They will be met by our astronaut experience team who will take them out to their accommodations at Launch Site 1, and that's where they will meet crew member 7. Now, you're going to hear us talk a lot about crew member 7 today. They are the astronauts' guide through the entire experience. The next day, the astronauts will begin their training, diving into detailed mission and vehicle overviews, learning the procedures for getting into and out of the capsule, and they'll also be part of a mission simulation where they're going to be strapped into their seats in a replica of the crew capsule, a lot like what you see behind us today. Now, on launch day, they're going to suit up, show some of that, you know, Patrick, that astronaut swagger, and go through final preparations. And last but not least, they're going to caravan out to the tower, climb up the tower through the hatch, and buckle up. And that's when things get real.
That's right, really real, Ariane, because that's when they're going to be ready to actually take off into space and get that incredible experience. Now, let's talk about today's stand-in experience and today's astronauts who are not exactly going to space, but they're going to be doing everything up to that point.
Thank you. This is what we want to know about.
All the way into the capsule while the rocket is fueled and testing all of that. And earlier today, as you can see here on the screen, they moved from their astronaut village over to the training center where they're actually at right now and doing their final preparations.
Today is going to be a big day for them, and as we noted, at about T-minus 45 minutes, so that's coming up in about 3 or 4 minutes here, they're going to leave the training center and continue the astronaut load process by proceeding out to the pad. So while we stand by for that, why don't we give our viewers a lay of the land? So our field reporter, Caitlin Dietrich, was at Launch Site 1 recently during some of our previous astronaut rehearsals, and she filmed a video to give you an up-close look of Launch Site 1. Let's check it out.
Hello everyone, I'm Caitlin Dietrich. I'm here in beautiful West Texas watching the sunrise over Blue Origin's Launch Site 1. This site is where our astronauts are soon going to fly to space, and today I want to take you on a tour of some of the highlights they'll experience before their mission. You know, you just feel like you should kind of be out here on horseback, but then you turn the corner onto our launch site and see the barn with our feather on it. And there's 2 rockets living in there. Before our astronauts go to space, they'll come visit their vehicle in the barn. This is where our astronauts will arrive during their training to greet their vehicle, get acquainted with the capsule, and learn about the booster. This is also where our mission team mates the crew capsule with the booster. Then, the night before launch, the booster rolls out those doors on the way to the launch pad. All right, so right now we're driving the road to space, which is the road the astronauts will take to go to the tower, climb up, and get in the capsule. And when our astronauts arrive here, they'll walk up these stairs, and they're only a few steps away from their trip to space. Once you get to the top of the tower, you see your rocket and your capsule. And this is going to be one of those moments that you remember for the rest of your life. Tell us what you do on launch days for our astronauts.
We go straight into installing the thermal conditioning system in the cabin. Crew member 7 will buckle the astronauts into their seats. At that point in time, we will close the hatch and the bridge will retract a little bit and they'll be ready for flight. And liftoff.
this place is the start of something really special, and you can't help but feel that way when you're down at Launch Site 1.
Very cool. Patrick, we've been down there a couple of times. It is a spectacular place from which to begin and end your journey to space.
That's right.
Now, the anticipation is really building here at Blue Origin. After 15 consecutive successful missions, including our capsule pad escape test, we are well on our way to flying astronauts. And talking about astronauts, we're moments away from seeing our stand-in astronauts begin traveling to the pad. That should happen in about a minute or so. But in the meantime, let's discuss what we're about to see today and what they're going to do. So we've got a site map here for a little bit of context. So on the left side, on the west side of UC Texas Route 54 is our astronaut village. That's where the astronauts are going to stay. It's their base camp. On the right side of the screen, or the east side of Highway 54, is our launch complex, which includes our astronaut training center. So coming up in a couple of seconds here, the astronauts will leave the astronaut training center with crew member 7. They will shuttle just a few miles north to the tower. You can also see it there on your map. And that's where the rocket will be
I will point out that they have entered a hold at the T-minus 45-minute mark.
This operation will take about 2 minutes. It is a relatively tall tower out there. And they're going to be accompanied by a photographer who's there to document the entire astronaut's pre-flight experience. And we also have a couple of tower cameras. So we will be giving you all a couple of different views and perspectives on the operation today. All right, we're at T-minus 45, Patrick. And I understand that we have gone into a brief hold here. So while we have a hold, why don't we check out New Shepard on the pad as the rocket, which, as we mentioned, we're going through this astronaut experience crew rehearsal today. The rocket itself is also going to be going to space, not with any astronauts on board, but we are preparing for a launch. So why don't we check out New Shepard here?
So as we are waiting for an update on what this brief hold will be, again, it's very possible that they were saying that T-minus 45 minutes is when they were expecting the crew to be at the pad. So it could be that the crew is just running a little late. So that's why they're entering that hold, because they want to make sure that they are leaving enough time for the crew to be able to be boarded, the hatch to be closed, them all to strap in and do their comm checks and still have the time to be able to clear the pad for it. Because of the scale of the rocket, obviously they don't have as big of an exclusion zone as you would have with like a Starship or even a Falcon 9 for it. But obviously you still can't be standing at the bottom of the pad when a rocket launches, just for safety. When do they anticipate astronauts actually going on board for a space flight? We have from Nathan over on Facebook. Great question, Nathan. Well, they keep saying the next one, as our Discord has pointed out, that they have said that for the last few launches. I think the fact that they're actually doing a crew rehearsal today to really photograph and videograph everything that goes through that to make sure that they have their sequences down to what they are wanting. NS-16 or 17, I would put it in the next two, that they would probably send at least 1 or 2 people. I'm not sure they're going to immediately go to a full crew of 6 for it. So we'd have to wait and see. I'm also not sure if they would launch on NS-4, which is the booster that you see now on your screen. You can see that 4 there. This is the 4th generation manufactured booster of New Shepard. NS-3 had many flights. I believe it was 6 or 7 successful flights for it. So we're not too sure there whether they'll again do a new capsule either. So a lot more questions than we have answers at this point. But I think if everything goes well today, which we're expecting because every other test they have done, knock on wood, has gone well, that we will hopefully be seeing that definitely this year. I would hopefully say by this summer.
Minutes to go until launch. This will be New Shepard's 15th launch to space and back. We're at T-minus 45 minutes. We are in a brief hold. And again, what we're waiting for at the moment is for the crew, the stand-in astronauts. Yeah. They are Blue Origin employees today that are going through the entire crew experience rehearsal. So this is all of the actions that are happening up until they get into the capsule. They're going to be doing a couple of comms checks, and then we are going to egress the stand-in astronauts, bring them back down the tower, and then we will be having a launch of New Shepard again, 15th mission for New Shepard. So while we're in a hold, why don't we go back and check out New Shepard as we wait for our stand-in astronauts to leave their astronaut training center.
I feel like they're just like any other YouTuber that's like, well, we're in a hold. We've already read all our hold scripts. We're just going to look at empty views and take a break, which is awesome. Another great question from Nathan. What is the goal, moon or just orbit? So both, if you're talking Blue Origin. If you're talking New Shepard, not even orbit. This is a suborbital rocket. Basically, what this rocket and capsule does is it launches about 20,000 feet over the Kármán line. So you do officially enter space. That past that Kármán line, which everyone agrees or generally agrees that that's the line of space, and you're over that for a couple of minutes. During the entire time from T0 and ignition to the actual time the capsule touches back on the Earth's surface is about 10 minutes to 10 minutes and 15 seconds. It's a very quick flight for it. So not the moon with this capsule. It's not designed like that. I know someone in our Discord was talking about like what suits will be like, because as they mentioned as they were showing some of those shots of the pad, you're walking up about 6 flights of stairs. There's no elevator there that we can see. I mean, I'm hoping they will install one maybe when they start really having people go, because I think that will really limit the number of people or limit some people that would want to go that are healthy enough to go for launch, but may not be healthy enough for 6 flights of stairs. That's a lot of stairs. We can see that black SUV heading out, which is carrying the crew out to the pad for today's rehearsal. Now, Nathan, with your question, the reason I said with Blue Origin, yes, is they do have their new Glenn rocket that they are designing and prepping to test. They'll be launching from Kennedy Space Center. They are also competing for the lunar lander, a part of the Artemis mission. They have their Blue Moon lander that then they were saying the national team or some other people could put the actual capsule part on. So lots of different things that they're working on. They kind of have their hand in a few different baskets for everything, but you can see that vehicle making its way out to the pad. This is the first time this has been done. So these are very exciting shots for Blue Origin to see as they are running their first crew rehearsal. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome to the launch pad. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the pad, and you're watching our live launch and test coverage of New Shepard mission NS-15. We are currently watching the crew heading out to the pad as they prepare for their crew rehearsal. So the crew will be boarding, the hatch will close, Capcom will do some testing with them, and then the crew will depart the capsule just prior to launch. Following touchdown of the capsule, we will see the crew reboard the capsule, close the hatch again, and then the recovery team will arrive as if the capsule had just landed and go through simulations. You can see lots of excitement there on the ground as they get to hit this new milestone as they are progressing towards actually having their first Blue Origin astronauts board and launch into space. Again, if you have a question, let us know in the chat. Use the hashtag AskTLP and share the broadcast out. Let people know that we are here. The count has resumed. As you can see, we are out of that hold. And that Ford, I believe, is speeding down Astronaut Way towards the pad. So let's listen back into their live coverage to hear any updates.
And let's say going up into space and seeing that rocket getting bigger and bigger, how would you be feeling?
What a shot right there.
You know, I've said it many times. I wanted to go to space since I was a little girl. And I imagine that our future customers, astronaut customers, will also have had that feeling. And so you're in that car, and it's you and your crewmates and the rocket. And that's it in this big, vast Texas desert. And you are on your way towards fulfilling this childhood dream. I mean, I tried to throw some words out there, but really there are no words. I actually think that there's going to be so much adrenaline pumping through it. You're going to be experiencing more than, you know, actively engaging in the moment.
You're absolutely right. And for me, I think I would also have like just a bit of a, sereneness and sense of calm as you see this just landscape go by and seeing this rocket get bigger, and you're like, wow, this is happening.
Yeah, this is happening. There they are zipping by. It is about they're away from one of our crew members. They're getting psyched as they should. Now, this is it's about a 2-mile road from the barn out to the launch pad. Once the vehicle makes it out to the pad, they're actually going to go to the north side of what we call the ring road that goes around the pad, and they're going to stop for a team photo. That should be pretty fun. And as they're doing that, Patrick, maybe we should get into, finish up on the timeline that we were describing earlier of what's going to be happening here. So they've left the astronaut training center. They've driven out to the pad here. They're going to take their photo. After the photo, they're going to continue around to the base of the tower, climb those stairs, the set of stairs at the base of the tower, and they're going to go into that white shelter that you see at the top of your screen at the top of the towers. That is the safety shelter. And they're going to wait for the tower crew to give them the thumbs up to load into the capsule. So at about T-minus 33, with assistance from the tower operations team and crew member 7, they'll load into the capsule, get into their seats, and buckle into their harnesses. So our stand-in astronauts are going to be sitting on a fully fueled rocket today. This is, Patrick, this is as real as it can get without igniting the ignition and sending them on a trip to space today. Again, the rocket will be doing that today, just not with the astronauts in it. There they go.
It's a
Looking
cool
good.
picture
That's
right
a pretty
there.
cool picture right there. I feel like that's one of those photos that in your Zoom meeting background you'd have pretty prominently there. Just, just a little humble brag photo.
For me, I think it'd be the picture of me in the seat, unstrapped, floating around in front of that big window with the Earth in the backdrop. That'd be my Zoom background.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll give you that one. That would be a pretty sweet money shot. All right, so they have finished their photo op there on the north side of the pad, and they're going to continue their drive around towards the base of the tower there. Let's watch.
So we have a question coming from Robert. Do you know if this is the first time they have practiced ingress, egress, or if they have done this before without webcasting it? We have seen them show in some previous videos where they've had crew go in and out of it. Obviously, they've done testing, and as well as they've ingressed and egressed Mannequin Skywalker. But this is the first time that they will be doing this with the rockets fully fueled. Some people in our Discord have mentioned this is very much giving vibes of the 1986 movie Space Camp. So we're, we hope, but we also don't hope it goes that way for today's test. But it's very much giving those vibes of this is a test of, having a crew on board. Obviously in Space Camp, they were testing the main engine, so it's a little bit slightly different. But it's pretty close to it. But we're going to see that crew leave that vehicle and climb up those about 5 stories or so up to the top of New Shepard, mission NS-15. But this is the first time they're doing a full launch rehearsal. If they wanted to, they could put the crew in, clear the pad, and launch. I don't believe that they have approval to do that as of yet, but theoretically that could happen. Everything is progressing as if that is. So, good question. If you have a question, let us know in the chat. We're going to listen in as the countdown continues. So we're at T-minus 37 minutes and 12 seconds.
They are they are ascending the stairs as we called out earlier. What happens next?
Yeah, so once they go up and they get out of that white shelter there that we see, they're going to cross the gantry and actually get into the capsule. Two of them are going to do that. And once they're actually settled in there, they're going to get strapped in. Crew member 7 is going to help them in. They're actually going to do a communications test with our Capcom or capsule communications. They're going to check to make sure we hear each other okay. And then we're going to do a simulated hatch closing. We're going to close the hatch, not latch it. Then we're going to, after a few moments, we're going to reopen the hatch, and then our astronauts are going to exit the capsule or egress, and then we're going to go back to a normal launch profile, so to speak, and they need to prep New Shepard for launch.
And Patrick, today, so while we have 4 stand-in astronauts going through this rehearsal today, only 2 of them are going to be getting into the capsule. Do you want to explain to us why that is?
Absolutely. So, as you know, we have 6 seats in our New Shepard, the crew capsule, so we can take 6 astronauts up into space. Now, today, we have the esteemed Anakin Skywalker taking yet again another flight up into space. And the next 3 seats next to him are actually filled with boxes full of postcards from Club for the Future to take up into space and bring on those back. And so, with all those seats, essentially, we only have 2 seats open, so that's why we're only going to have 2 of those astronauts actually go into the capsule.
Very exciting moment here. Now the astronauts have entered, the stand-in astronauts have entered into the safety shelter there. You see Kevin Sprogue, our crew member 7 on the right. We're going to get to know Kevin Sprogue and Sarah Knights, our first Blue Origin crew member 7s, in just a bit here. You might recognize Gary Lai on the left from earlier in our video today.
Absolutely. And Ariane, so these, our 4 stand-ins right now are in what we call our safety shelter. And, this room is a climate-controlled room where astronauts can do their final preparations like you see right now, get their briefing from Kevin. And this also serves as a safety stop in case, there's any issue on the pad. The astronauts and the team can safely stay in this shelter until the situation is resolved. Of course, if our stand-ins or astronauts are in the capsule itself, they can quickly egress, make it across the gantry and into that shelter, and where they can without any issues at all. So, that room is quite multi-purpose there, as you can tell.
Right. Well, let's continue to watch here the operations inside the safety shelter. Looks like they are leaving the shelter.
That's right. So what you're going to see here is about an 8-minute long process of actually loading the 2 astronauts there into the capsule. And at the end of which, like we said, we're going to simulate the hatch closing with the 2 stand-ins inside. Ariane, do you want to tell us about the 2 folks that are actually going to be going in here to this capsule today?
Sure. So in the foreground, you just saw our photographer, Joel Eby, who is preceding them. Got to catch some sweet photos, of course, of our astronauts as they head out there. So here we have Susan Knapp, Gary Lai, Audrey Powers, and in the back there we've got Clay
You can
Morgan
tell there's some excitement on them
and Kevin Sprogue
for this
crew
test,
member 7.
as they are officially the first crew to cross that bridge as an official test crew.
So we're the 4 astronauts plus the photographer and our crew member 7 have made their way obviously closer to the rocket. As you mentioned, only 2 of the stand-in astronauts are going to go into the capsule today. We've got, again, Anakin Skywalker. You can see him.
Right
He's
there.
already locked and loaded, ready for his flight to space. And 3 payload lockers that will be taking postcards from Club for the Future up. But we are soon to see Gary Lai. You heard from Gary a little bit earlier in our broadcast. He's been here over 17 years, and we call him the architect of New Shepard. So it's quite moving for all of us here at Team Blue to watch him ascend the tower and get inside of the capsule that he designed. Audrey, who you just saw step into the capsule there, she is one of the leaders of our legal team and is a big part of all of the operations that we conduct.
Smart.
Here, at
Put
Lunar.
your lawyer
But, you know,
on the rocket.
In particular, Patrick, we talk a lot about the engineering that goes into the design, and the
smart
manufacturing and the operations, et cetera. But there's an important legal component that goes into it too. In particular, there's a lot of interactions we've had over years with the FAA, and so our point of contact is Audrey Powers. So to add to her, rock star resume, she's also a pilot, no big deal, and the first female chair of the Commercial Spaceflight Federation. So really, really neat. She's had some incredible impact on space legislation and policy in some major ways, for the whole entire commercial space industry. I do want to do a special little shout out to her niece,
taking
Genesee.
out all that piping that's just keeping the air clear.
Genesee is a big fan of Blue Origin, one of our Club for the Future members. So, hey, Genesee, good morning. And another shout out to Gary's kids, Anna and Alec. They are all potential future astronauts with us. So hopefully taking the footsteps behind their older family members. So why don't we continue to take a look here for our astronaut experience rehearsal. It is continuing. We have the stand-in astronauts in the capsule.
I'll point out while we are waiting here that we are at coming up at T-minus 30 minutes until they are actually launching this rocket. So this is going to be a very quick test as they do their strap-in. Will officially close and seal the hatch, and then they will run some comm checks, and then they will quickly open the hatch, get everybody out, seal the hatch again, and then Mannequin Skywalker will go for his ride again to space. Mm-hmm.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. We're at T-minus 29 minutes to go until launch. A very exciting day for us here at Blue Origin. This is New Shepard's 15th flight to space and our first astronaut experience dress rehearsal combined with a launch. We should note again, no astronauts will be going to space today. But this is really a critical step in our march towards first human flight. Now, our stand-in astronauts, Blue Origin employees Gary Powers and Gary Lai and Audrey Powers are in the capsule, and it looks like the simulated hatch closing is about to get underway. Let's keep an eye on our screen for that.
Sounds good. And Ariane, I think right now what they're doing is the actual communications check. So they're talking with mission control and the other astronauts in the safety shelter using their push to talk. They're just confirming all of these checks. And as you pointed out, after we complete those checks, that's when we're going to close the hatch, but not latch it, because we are going to have to take those Gary and Audrey out as much as we want to stay in there.
Yeah. I'm sure they might be trying to hide under the seat, but not to.
So many differences with this type of capsule, with this type of mission, is you would see obviously fueling with Crew Dragon. They've already would have been on board for well over an hour and a bit at this point of the count, because they start the fueling after. And then also the quarantine. So you're seeing that, these people, they've probably been quarantining because of the pandemic, but they were talking earlier about how with there's commercial crews and customers, you'll arrive on site 2 days before. You'll have a day of training, and then it's launch day. This is not something where, like at NASA, you go for a 2-week quarantine. You've gone from training for months in advance to do this. This is very much a little bit more, obviously, than boarding like an airplane at this point, but is trying to be as close to that as possible. So we're watching to see them close the hatch here, which would mean the first crew would have been strapped in. Again, this is a test. They're not launching this crew today. They're just doing a comm check. And we're going to watch and see if he closes the door here. So someone in our Discord did just point out that we've seen on the capsule, it says RSS first step. We haven't really had a capsule name. It's just been the Blue Origin crew capsule. So we're definitely waiting, wondering, is that maybe the name of this capsule? We'll have to wait and see on the next missions if that changes or if they'll confirm that. Absolutely, yeah. The stairs are definitely a limitation for those either in wheelchairs or unable to go up. I would expect, when this starts going, it would not be hard for them to add an elevator or lift type of system. It's not that high. It's 5-6 stories up, but it's not that high of a building. It would not take long to add something like that to the side of the tower. I was seeing on Twitter some people were commenting that this is a very different launch tower system where there's actually 2 towers. If you look at like Kennedy Space Center with Crew Dragon, it's the one main tower. And then you have your crew access arm out to it. This one actually has 2 towers. And then the arm in between those 2 with the white room on the first tower, not next to the capsule. So looks like they're exiting out. And are they going to close the hatch? There's still a couple people on board, it looks like.
Everybody for joining us live. We're at T-minus 25 minutes to go until launch.
At this point, launch pad 39A would have been long cleared.
Well so far.
Because the rocket would be very much alive at this
profile
point.
Of the rocket. Once we finish the crew experience rehearsal, we will extract the stand-in astronauts. They will get back in their car and they will drive back to mission control for New Shepard.
Oh, and we're in a hold.
Enjoy the rest of her day, which includes a flight to space, which will go as
Wonder
such.
why we're holding.
The rocket will lift off the propulsion module, propelling the
probably taking some
crew
selfies
capsule up towards space at 75 kilometers or about 250,000 feet. The 2 vehicles will separate and continue their ascent to their respective apogees. The booster will, once it's hit its apogee, which is over the Kármán line, over the internationally recognized line of space of 100 kilometers, it will come back down and land on our landing pad just 2 miles north of the launch pad. The capsule, in parallel, will continue its flight up to its own apogee, which we're aiming for about 105 kilometers. If we had astronauts on board, they would get their 3 minutes of weightlessness, gazing out of the beautiful windows, as we said,
wiping off the hatch, make sure the seals are clear of any
so when
fog.
Patrick, when we get the opportunity to fly up there, it's
so
going to feel like
foreign
we're floating in
objects,
space
debris.
with all that window.
It's going to be incredible.
It's going to be incredible, absolutely. And after the 3 minutes, buckle back in, and the capsule descends, comes down under 3 big parachutes, and just in the last moments, we have the retro thrust system that fires and creates basically an air cushion for a nice soft landing back into our valley.
Oh, and there's the hatch closed. So we didn't get to see it.
Minus 24 minutes and 51 seconds to go to launch.
Go full screen.
We're in a
Thank you.
hold. I understand we'll be.
Oh, there. They're gonna do it again for
shortly, us. While the team is continuing to do its various checks, communications checks. They have to check all the systems that are in there. Again, this is the first time that we've had stand-in astronauts, people on top of this fully fueled rocket. And again, we will not be flying them to space, but we're doing just about everything but today. We did see Joel Eby, our photographer, go into the capsule to get some last-minute photos of Gary Lai and Audrey Powers. There are stand-in astronauts.
As we can see, Yeah, we did the simulated hatch closing, so we got that check out of the way, and now the hatch is back open, and we've entered that planned hold that should last a couple of minutes here. And this pre-planned hold is part of the rehearsal operations designed to make sure we can get our astronauts out of the capsule. Again, we call that egress, and then headed back to the
it does
safety
look like they're
shelter, and then eventually
unstrapping.
back into their cars and mission control. Of course,
And
we're
there
doing
they
this
come.
time because we're taking the astronauts out.
So
On
that
launch
is it.
day,
That
this
is the
hold
crew
did not happen
rehearsal.
because, of
Now,
course,
the reason you
astronauts
can
are
see
going to
people
space,
moving
right?
with some
That is
expedience
right. So we
is
just saw
they're
Gary
25
and
minutes from
Audrey,
launch, and this is a
leave
fueled rocket.
The capsule there. Our crew on the tower is just going to do some last checks before they close the hatch for real.
Make sure nobody's stowing away.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure there are no stowaways. There's Audrey and Gary.
That's
And our
Joel right
photographer.
there.
Re-entering the safety shelter there, where they met up with the other two stand-in astronauts, Clay Maury and Susan Knapp. Obviously having a good time. Getting so close to flying people here at Blue Origin. Again, this is a very, very important step on our march to first human flight. You can almost taste it, Patrick.
Sounds like they're recapping their great experience there and what they got to do in the capsule and all those tests. Man, it must have been so exciting.
And again, can you imagine Gary Lai, the gentleman in the bottom right corner of your screen? He's been at Blue Origin since the very beginning. He knows this system inside and out, and that's why it's really touching for him to participate in this activity, right? He's been really committed through this entire program to getting this vehicle up, flying, landing,
Yep.
and soon taking people to space and back.
If you're wondering why I'm laughing, go look at one of our most recent tweets. We had a amazing retweet. Yeah. Oh boy.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th mission to space. We are at T-minus 24 minutes and 51 seconds. We are in a brief hold here, but so far we have had what appears to be a successful astronaut rehearsal. Let's stand by. Again, thank you everybody for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th mission to space. We have cleared the hold and the countdown clock is resuming. We're at T-minus 24 minutes and 30 seconds to go until launch. Patrick, looks like they are closing the hatch for real.
That's right. They're locking Anakin Skywalker in for his flight, and looks like that capsule is ready to launch today.
Absolutely. Everything seems to be going nominally. You do see our crew member 7 on the left. That is Kevin Sprague, as well as our crew tower. Excuse me, our tower crew, of course. They are, again, closing the hatch. Soon, Kevin will rejoin the astronauts in the safety shelter, and they are going to make their way down the stairs and back to mission control so they can watch the launch along with the rest of us. Again, thank you everybody for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We have so far had a successful astronaut experience rehearsal. We just saw the tower crew closing the hatch for real. We had earlier our astronauts in there, stand-in astronauts, did some tests, and now we are continuing our countdown to the launch itself. Now, Patrick, we've talked a lot about crew member 7 and how important they are to our astronauts in their full experience, right? We saw Kevin Sprague on the tower with our team. We had Sarah Knights, who was on Capcom. We saw them waving to our astronauts at the last moment there as they headed out towards the rocket. But why don't we take a little closer look at their roles and specifically meet Kevin and Sarah? Let's check it out.
So I'm just going to pull their audio back here because I'm not too sure what their audio is going to be like here on this one. But some amazing shots here for some of their earlier rehearsals and practices and preparations for previous launches. It seems like they had a really smooth boarding and test of their crew, and we are now progressing at coming up at T-minus 20 minutes until launch. Yeah, so you can see there that capsule is clearly not on the pad, but is in one of their warehouses there doing tests. So they've definitely, one of our questions earlier, have they been in it? Absolutely, they've done tons of testing in it. But now they are preparing to, they've done a test with a fully fueled rocket, and the next step is really strap them in for real and go for launch. The crew has now left the capsule, and final preparations are being made for NS-15, with Anakin Skywalker on board to launch again to space. That's a great question there, Robert. And sorry, I didn't realize I had muted the. I thought I had unmuted them there. But great question from Robert. First, thanks so much for subscribing. If you haven't done that, everyone, make sure you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We're just a few subs away from our goal for today. But Robert asked, do you know how long the rocket has been on the pad for this flight? That's a great question. I don't actually. I'm not sure if anyone in our Discord knows by chance. We'll see if any of them have heard. But I believe it's been at least a few days. Let me see if I can try to find you an answer there, Robert, while we listen into this.
Well over 100 countries have participated. And so that little moment where they realize this postcard has taken that journey that they're going to have the opportunity to take also one day, it clicks, and they're hooked. Club's been fortunate over this past year to have some really amazing partnerships. One is Project Janos.
Students need to have their curiosity sparked so they can fall in love with human spaceflight and why it's not in the future, it's today. Let's look at the past, the present, and the future. So for the past, it's the Apollo legends. For the present, we're looking at Artemis. And then for the future, the vision that Blue has set for human spaceflight. And that's why Club for the Future and Project Janos has real potential to have a positive impact on the world.
Another one is Microsoft Education Day of Data.
We are preparing these students for these future careers, fundamental skills like creative thinking, problem solving, computational thinking, and data literacy. It's been a fantastic partnership. Who doesn't want to be part of the rocket launch?
Club for the Future partnered with STEM to Hub. Together, we challenged the entire state of Florida to dream big.
It was like giving them the gift of the future.
Club for the Future is proud to be supporting Challenger Center. They've not only implementing the Postcard to Space program, but Club for the Future most recently has been helping build a virtual mission called Destination Moon, where they put kids right in the seat of mission control, taking the New Glenn to the moon.
The teachers have told us that they're loving it, the students are loving it. They're going to be the ones exploring Mars and Moon. They're going to be the ones launching New Glenn.
Thanks for being members of the Club for the Future.
I can just think of one word, hope. I see this entire generation that's going to be part of something far, far bigger than I am.
Great. That was so cool to see all that awesome work that the club is doing. Very inspiring.
And there goes the crew.
And then we just see on our screen, our stand-in astronauts have descended the tower, gotten in the vehicle, and they're heading back to mission control. That's where they're going to be watching the actual launch and landing from, and then they're going to go out to the landing site after that to continue the essentially the back-end part of the astronaut rehearsal.
Right.
So as we've been talking about, Club for the Future and all things about the club, I do want to highlight that there's a club member that we know and love that has been a great part of helping their local community, especially as part of that recent unfortunate Texas winter storm. We caught up with him to hear about how he's been helping his community as well, to talk a little bit about what it's like being an ambassador for Club for the Future. So let's go hear it from Beckett Potter's own words.
Let's check it out.
If you ever need a junior correspondent for New Shepard, I'm your kid. Go Team Blue. Marauding Dean's Ferocious.
Okay, that was awesome.
Oh my God, what an adorable and inspiring kid.
Beckett, you should just take my seat, although I'm sure the Ellen show has already called him. We've lost our moment. All right, well, so as we're talking about Club for the Future, I do want to talk about another initiative from the club, which involves our buddy Mannequin Skywalker, who's on board today. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that, Patrick?
Absolutely. I love talking about Mannequin in the next adventure. So Blue Origin is going to be donating Mannequin Skywalker to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, which is home, of course, to one of our key partners, Space Camp. So we're also going to be donating one of the new Shepard seats. And so with Mannequin and the seat, I think we can tell a great story about sort of that path to flight and really tell students how, Mannequin essentially helped the New Shepard program and human spaceflight. So I think that could be a great way to, actually see it there.
Absolutely agree.
And if we go to a little bit more detail sort of on that story, one of the cool things about these mannequins is that in many ways they're similar to the kind used by first responders in rescue training. So there we see mannequin, actually in New Shepard capsule, in space. Gosh, I'm sure he wants to be floating around up there. And so
he's taking in the zen of space,
there you
Patrick.
go.
That's what he's doing.
You and I would not be zen up
No.
there. But these mannequins mimic the weight, form, and center of gravity and the range of motion of the human body. So it allows us to actually test the weight and CG and balance in the capsule, just like we would be if we were flying real people. And so that mannequin that's going to be flying today is actually the same one that flew on the last mission with those Space Camp astronaut wings pinged to the flight suits. It's going to be really cool to see all of that kind of make its way back home.
Very cool indeed. I can't wait to see Mannequin at the Space and Rocket Center in Alabama soon. Again, as you've mentioned, they've been wonderful partners with our Club for the Future. Okay, we're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go until New Shepard's 15th launch to space, although I do notice here that we have gone into a brief hold. So why don't we check out New Shepard on the pad as she gets ready for her flight.
So as she said, we did see there that the hold has been called again. We'll see how long this one lasts. We have seen this with Blue Origin before with New Shepard, that there are a number of different holds that can take place as they're making final preparations or they're clearing the pad or many different things there, but able to resume quite quickly. We're currently sitting at T-minus 10 minutes, 45 seconds in a hold for today's launch of the Blue Origin New Shepard NS-15 mission, carrying Mannequin Skywalker and 25,000 postcards up into space over the Kármán line. For it, if you are just joining us, welcome. You're watching our live coverage here on the launch pad. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat. We'll answer those for you as we're waiting for this hold to pass. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Zachary Albert. I'm the host here at the launch pad, and here at the pad we cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, and the future of space and STEM. And we're really gearing up here for a busy April. We got a number of videos coming out for you. We do live launch, landing, and testing coverage like you're seeing today. We also do one-on-one interviews and sit-downs with some amazing people. We've got some more of those coming for you in the near future, as well as we do live on-the-ground coverage, tours, and lots of things coming here in the near future. So we're excited to have you here with us. If you're new, make sure you hit the like us on Facebook, follow us over on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and if you want to go behind the scenes, plug in over on our Discord. It's free to join. Link is in the description for everything there. And as we wait for launch, be sure to take a moment and check out our brand new The Launchpad shop. Everything from the profits go back into the studio and us being able to try to get onto the ground for as many of these launch coverages and things like that. So check that out. If you use promo code LaunchDay, you get 10% off your entire order. And we just released the store a couple of days ago, so a bunch of brand new things. There's going to be new products coming out as well throughout the day today and into the future. So lots of things to check out. That's the Launchpad shop on Etsy. You can check out the link in the description or just search for it on the Etsy search. So we're watching, as we're in a hold here, kind of a tour of the new Blue Origin facility at Kennedy Space Center as they're making preparations for their new Glenn rocket. The Blue Origin facility at Kennedy Space Center is actually just down the road from Kennedy Space Center's Visitor Center. So if you're ever in the area, you can check that. Anyone know how long the launch window is? That is a good question. I know the launch window opened at 8 a.m. This morning. Let me see if they had an ending time on the window, though. I do not recall one. I do not see an end time to the window, though. No. I know the TFR is in place for quite a number of hours, so they've definitely got some time here for the hold if they need to. Currently, they are late compared to what their original T0s would be by about 45 minutes, and then we've had a few holds here once they set that new T0. So we are a little bit late for today's launch, and they're still currently sitting at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds. But you're seeing some amazing views into the Blue Origin VAB. Yes. So that payload fairing is a 7-meter long payload fairing. Most competitors have a 5-meter long payload fairing, but you can imagine the size of New Glenn when you see that there's going to be 2 of those for it. So it can be one very large satellite, or you could put in a crazy amount of CubeSats or multiple smaller satellites launching on New Glenn, hopefully in the next couple of years from Kennedy Space Center.
Very exciting, the operations that it's been fun to watch it kind of mushroom out of the swampy area down there in Florida, just to see this entire campus that we have built. Again, we are the first organization that is going to be building the rocket and flying it out of Florida. So that should be coming up in a couple of years here. That's going to be very exciting. Now, as part of that orbital launch site and general facility campus that we're building there, we have something called the TCAT, or the Tank Cleaning and Testing Facility. We use this facility to pressure test and clean New Glenn stages before flight. And this massive building that we're about to show you is being used for the fully reusable first stage, which stands 180 feet tall. To give you some context, that's about 3 times the size of New Shepard just in the first stage. So why don't we take a look at this facility?
We're standing in front of the tank cleaning and testing facility for New Glenn on the rocket.
There's the Kennedy Space Center, so you can see how close it is.
30 feet tall. We're going to head into the building and get to know this facility and all the capabilities it gives us. So this door right here opens, and essentially the first stage of New Glenn will come in, and this large crane above our head will lift the vehicle up into this fixture right here. This is where the rocket will be when we do the pressure testing. Once the rocket is vertical on this fixture, we use tie downs right here to secure the vehicle. So you can see here, we're only on the 3rd floor, and I feel like I've been in this elevator for about 10 years. So we just got into the TCAP at about the same level as the top of New Glenn's first stage. And I just took a quick peek over this railing, and I gotta tell you, this is going to be a massive rocket. So we're climbing just the rest of the stairs to the top of the tower. I feel like I'm standing on New Glenn's first stage. Woohoo! And one thing that's so evident when you're looking down on almost this New Glenn city in our...
So you can see in this shot the VAB, the original NASA facility off in the distance. And you can really see how the skyline of Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral is really starting to change as Blue Origin's building their facilities, SpaceX is building a new launch facility, and the pads are all changing.
About a lot on previous webcasts, but I think it's worth bringing up again. There's been so much value already out of this New Shepard program. Well, we haven't flown people yet, although as today is a testament to, we are very close to flying people to space. But taking the lessons from the design of New Shepard, the operations of New Shepard, the human spaceflight operations of New Shepard, as well as the refurbishment of the vehicles themselves, and rolling them into New Glenn has been, it's almost like it catapults you. It's it's a trampoline to the next level, which is why we've already started New Glenn.
Absolutely, Ariane. I mean, essentially all of the learnings that we've had from this great vehicle have already been applied. You see it sort of in the design, everything from how we lay out the stages, the tank designs, everything from how we manufacture the tanks with friction stir welding. All of these things we've learned on New Shepard, and now we're applying on New Glenn. But to your point, it's at a 3 to 5x scale, right? Which is kind of has its own challenges.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the parallels between the first stage of New Glenn and the booster on New Shepard?
Yeah, no, it's a great analogy there. So you actually see a lot of the similar design there, which is really interesting. So we have the same, essentially the same aerodynamic surfaces there, right? So with the strakes and the fins, we have them on New Shepard on that propulsion module. Same thing on the GS1 on the first stage of New Glenn. They just happen to be much larger. I mean, you and I can probably carry the fin of a New Shepard, whereas the one on the first stage of New Glenn is actually the size of the wing of an F-16.
And to be clear, we call it a fin. We call it, actually internally, we call it a strake. It effectively acts like a wing.
Yeah.
Right? Because at 180 feet long, it's effectively, it's kind of like an airplane, right? And we want to have lift on the vehicle to be able to fly it back. and get it back onto our landing ship that will be underway when it comes into land.
Absolutely. So those fins and strakes allow us to get a lot of stability, both essentially directionally, rotationally, and it gives us a lot of the ability to go downrange to land. So a New Shepard allows us to kind of come back and precision land on the pad.
Right.
With New Glenn, we're going to be landing downrange on a moving ship. So by having all of these aerodynamic structures and having all of that design heritage on how to design them, how to use them in our flight control systems, it allows us to land with a lot of precision downrange without having to use a lot of propulsive maneuvers to essentially, use up all that fuel to kind of land. So lots of great learning from there. A lot of our learning around how we actually land. I mean, Gary sort of spoke to it, right? Our ability to kind of throttle down,
right,
hover, and kind of land and kind of bring it down nice and gentle there is.
So if we weren't in a hold, we would be 30 seconds away from a launch here. But we're now at that, still passing that 10-minute mark in this hold. Blue Origin hasn't tweeted anything or said anything about what this hold is based around. So we are just listening in and waiting.
Go until New Shepard's 15th launch to space and back. As we've mentioned before, hopefully you caught it as well. We had a successful astronaut experience rehearsal test for the pre-flight operations. Following the flight, those same stand-in astronauts will head out to the capsule once it comes back down, so we can practice some of those post-flight operations as well. But in the meantime, we are in a brief hold. We just want to make sure that our teams are getting aligned and we're all set for New Shepard's flight to space. So why don't we check out New Shepard while she's on the pad getting ready for her flight to space today.
AKA, on that note, we ran out of things to talk about, so we're going to show you pictures of the rocket, which we don't mind. We love seeing the rocket there. You can see the hatch has been closed and sealed, and the crews have left the pad, so the launch facility is clear. And we're just waiting to hear an update and see when that hold will be lifted for the launch of NS-4, the fourth New Shepard rocket carrying the crew capsule. And this will be mission NS-15, so the 15th launch of any New Shepard. This will be the second launch of today's booster for today's mission. If you're just joining us, you're watching our live launch coverage of the New Shepard launch. Number 15, today's launch will be going to space. It's going to be a quick 10-minute mission from launch until actually touchdown of the capsule. It takes about 4 minutes to get to apogee, not even. So a very quick trip. About 30 minutes or so ago, we did see a full crew rehearsal with the crew boarding, a simulated hatch closing, which was literally they closed the hatch and they opened it in about one fell swoop. And the crews have now left the launch facility, and you can see the venting from the rocket there. So they're definitely getting it fueled up and keeping it topped up and ready to go. For that pattern that you're seeing on the side of the rocket, that is not soot. That is not dirt. That is their leaf. That is the Blue Origin New Shepard leaf on the side of it. Does look a little more scraped up than usual, but it did have one launch already, so it's possibly that for it. But while we were waiting here, if you have a question, let us know in the comments below. Anything about Blue Origin or New Shepard, could be about SpaceX or Starship, anything like that. We'll hang out and answer your questions as we wait for this hold to be lifted and the countdown to resume. At this point, at any point when they lift the hold, we will be at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds and counting, unless they decide to roll back the clock or possibly even jump the clock, which I believe SpaceX has done previously. But we are waiting to see what is happening with today's launch attempt. Got a question from Robert over on YouTube. Does Blue Origin have any more New Shepard rockets to roll off the assembly line, and will they give them names? Great questions. For the name side of it, they have not named them as of yet. They've just been numbering them. I think it might be very similar to what we see with SpaceX, where we have the boosters just numbered. And then, maybe they get a dash depending on how many reuses.
Joining us for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We are T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go until launch here. Our team is just getting aligned on some last minute issues. But while we've got a little bit of time here, I wanted to bring you all up to speed on some recent progress that we've made on the BE-4 engine. We were just talking about New Glenn. You called it hefty. Maybe it's big boned. Again, you know, don't offend the rocket. You're going to want it to work.
It's taken a lot of payload into space. That rocket is doing a great job there.
Absolutely. It's a robust rocket. Now, we have been working on the BE-4 engines that are going to propel that rocket. There are going to be 7 BE-4 engines, Blue Engine 4s, and we've been successfully hot-firing those engines.
We'll jump back to them quickly there, but I want to answer that question for Robert. We haven't heard of any more of their rockets being ready to roll off the assembly line. I'm sure the fact that they haven't really made changes to them in the first 4, nothing major. I'm sure they are working on some more and kind of have parts of them ready and stuff. But we don't have anything there. Blue Origin is very secretive. We only knew that this test was going to be happening because a TFR was released. And then Blue Origin later released an announcement saying that they were going to do the test once everyone had already realized that a TFR was in place for a launch attempt. So they don't release a ton of information. It's always great. See, just listen to this engine. That is a powerful engine.
So there you go, Patrick. You can see the BE-4 engine testing. We actually have 2 test cells down there that are both up and firing, which is great because you...
But yeah, they're very much making large progresses towards their New Glenn rocket, and we'll be waiting for that. But great question. Unfortunately, I don't have a very clear answer for you.
today, and there will be 7 of those. That means 3.85 million pounds of thrust on liftoff when New Glenn blasts off from the Space Coast in a couple of years here. And again, as mentioned, we've had a lot of successful test firings on it, which is great. This is the first of this sort of liquefied natural gas, LNG, and liquid oxygen engine. Think of LNG like a commercial form of methane for those of you at home that are less familiar with rocket propellants. And so far, so good. And that LNG, actually, we should talk about that for a second. We've picked it for a couple of reasons. For one thing, when you have a reusable rocket, you need reusable rocket engines, which means you need to be able to bring the engines home and refurbish them quickly. And when you use that sort of clean propellant, you can get in there. There's not that kind of nasty coking and other sort of nasty things that come with other types of propellant. It's green. Yeah. So that's a good thing as well. And the other thing about LNG, for you rocket nerds at home, you probably know this too, is that it allows us to autogenously pressurize the engine. What does that mean? It means that we can use that LNG to pressurize the lines in the rocket engine as opposed to bringing in what we use on other engines or what others use on other engines, which is helium, which is good, it works, but the problem is it's quite expensive and sometimes can be in kind of tricky supply. So.
Absolutely, and the great thing about LNG is that it's extremely cheap. It's the same very similar to the gas you use at home. So very easy to get in and use for this. It keeps the costs low. The other great thing about it is because it's actually much denser than hydrogen, you can make that first stage actually quite nice and compact there. You can pack a lot of propellant into a small volume and be able to get a lot of payload up there into space.
Yeah, so we're very proud of this rocket engine that we've developed so far, and have enjoyed working with our partners at United Launch Alliance, who again will be using that rocket engine. They'll be using 2 of them on their Vulcan Centaur, so that should be really fun to watch. So with that, we're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go until New Shepard's launch here this morning. We are in a hold. Our teams are working to make sure that New Shepard can launch today. Also want to make sure that the weather is within bounds. You see it is a bit hazy down there in Texas. We also, of course, as always, watch the winds aloft. We've mentioned this before. You can't really tell down there because of the limited brush, but it can be quite windy, and so it's imperative that our team make sure that everybody, the teams are aligned, but also the weather is within bounds. So why don't we check out New Shepard here?
So while we're waiting for this hold to be released, we're going to continue answering your questions. So if you have those, let us know in the chat. But we're also going to take a quick break, grab some hydration, and I will be back in a couple of minutes. But we're going to leave you with the live views here. And, of course, the moment that hold is released, we will come back and continue our live commentary. We're monitoring Twitter for any updates from Blue Origin. Obviously, we're listening into their crew as well. To hear any updates. I haven't said anything there. They were saying it's a bit hazy in the region, so it's possible that this is a weather hold. So we're going to wait there, but we're going to take a quick break. You're watching our live launch coverage of Blue Origin's New Shepard NS-15 launch right here on the Launchpad. This is Zach from the Launchpad. We'll be right back.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live while we wait here for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We are in a hold here, wanting to make sure that our teams get aligned. Again, I'm Ariane Cornell, here with my co-host, Patrick Zaituni. Now, while we've got a little bit of time, why don't we talk about another one of our programs that we have going on at Blue, our human landing system, our Blue Moon program. And it's part of NASA's human landing system program. And we have we've based our activities for HLS, as we call it, down in Huntsville, Alabama, at our factory down there. And we've actually put a full-scale pathfinder of our descent element lander in preparation of our demonstration mission to the lunar surface. This mission is going to happen a year before landing crew on the moon, which, by the way, I love saying those words. And by proving out our technology and pre-positioning equipment down there on the lunar surface, it's going to start America's sustainable return to the moon, and this time to stay. Let's check out this video.
One of the things that our team is doing is a demonstration flight of our descent element 1 year before we actually send crew, humans, down to the surface. And that provides an enormous amount of risk reduction. We get to practice. In Huntsville, we put together a full-scale pathfinder of the DE demo lander. We can test out, prove out the BE-7 engine, all the major subsystems, the whole propulsion system, the fluid system, the electrical power system, the fuel cells, avionics, the sensors, all of that. We can send that lander and land it autonomously on the surface before the crew goes there. We can deliver all kinds of payloads. We can deliver a metric ton of stuff. We can pre-position material, and it can be whatever you want it to be. We can begin to build up Artemis Space Camp. We're looking at several different ways of offloading payloads from the deck. The obvious thing is a crane. And we've actually got a crane provided for us by Langley Research Center at NASA. We're also looking at a davit system that's being developed by Honeybee Robotics. We're not standing still at the national team. We built this full-scale pathfinder of the DE demo mission in Huntsville to enable long-term sustainability, getting America back to the moon, this time to stay.
It's so cool to watch that video. I mean, Patrick, we talk about this a lot. Step by step, ferociously, gradatum ferociter. That's our motto here at Blue. New Shepard leads into New Glenn, and from once then we're up in orbit. Where do we go from there? Like, hey, why don't we go to the moon, right? It's all part of this longer roadmap that we have here at Blue Origin. But we're not going to do this mission alone, are we? Why don't you talk to us about this? Patrick has been part of this program, the Lunar program, from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's been incredible and so exciting to see it sort of go from, where it was, nascent 2-3 years ago and sort of where we are right now. It's just, the team has done such an incredible job. And so what you were hearing earlier is, Steve Squires, our chief scientist, talking about all the great things we're going to do, with the descent element and the science and all the incredible stuff we can do on the surface by landing these large payloads. That's incredible. And to me, what's even more incredible is when we get to work with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Draper. It's just a phenomenal team. And
they've got a little bit of experience in this.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've got a couple of years.
They've done this a few times, perhaps, and landed on planets, guided, Apollo, small things, and they've just done an incredible job. They brought their A-team on this, and it's incredible to see just the heritage there, the incredible design that's in the ascent element that's actually going to be keeping the astronauts alive, taking them down to the surface and bringing them back up. The transfer element, which actually does a lot of the heavy lifting of the Delta V and gets the whole stack down into the right orbit and gets them down onto the surface, and of course the lander itself, which is bringing that down to the surface and landing them safely, all guided by the Draper algorithms, proven since Apollo and able to bring this down safely with people on board, which of course always adds even more complexity. We can't wait to actually go land this.
Exactly. And again, you just mentioned the not just the complexity of the system, but then you just mentioned we're taking people to the moon.
Yeah.
Much like today, this is actually what we've done today is a step that contributes towards that, right? With New Shepard, we talked about. Obviously, we're launching and landing this rocket. We've done it several times previously. We've layered on today the astronaut experience operations and rehearsal that we conducted earlier. And eventually, we're going to be doing that when we go to the moon. But that's not the only parallel between some of the operations that we're doing today and what we're going to do on the moon.
Yeah,
that descent element looks a lot. That landing looks a lot like a landing we know.
Exactly. I mean, if you can sort of shrink in New Shepard a little bit, you can sort of imagine it's so close to a decent element. I mean, there's so many parallels there. And there is, hydrogen and oxygen, right? So the same propellants that we're using here.
That's on our BE-7 engine,
in the
correct?
BE-7 engine, right? Which again builds on a lot of the heritage of the BE-3PM, but it's about a 10x smaller thrust. So it's a little bit of a smaller engine, but even higher performing. Again, very, very compact, very excellent engine there, very efficient, high ISP. But again, builds on a lot of the same learnings from the BE-3 engine on New Shepard. And of course our landing sequence with all of the landing sensors, and the same thing where you're coming in from about 100 kilometers and autonomously landing in essentially also pretty rugged desert there, and so there's so much parallels there.
And actually on that note, we have tested some of that lunar landing technology on New Shepard on previous flights, correct?
Exactly. So working with NASA and a lot of their sensors, we were able to get terrain relative navigation sensors, LiDAR sensors for hazard avoidance, all of these great sensors we actually are planning to use on various parts of the landing itself. We get to test them right here in very similar environments of actually coming down and helping us, figure out what works, what doesn't work, and how to, loop it into the guidance system. It's great to be able to do it here. And actually, by the way, get the sensors back, because as soon as it lands, you can just unbolt them, tweak them a little bit, put them back on, try it again next time.
And that, that really, New Shepard has been a test bed for many of our payload customers, but it's also nice to use it for our own technology. And again, between the, the New Shepard Astronaut, human spaceflight tourism program that we'll be having coming up, plus our payload customers that have already flown on board in several of our previous missions, the Lunar program that has a lot of the technologies that are being transferred into the Lunar program, also New Glenn, et cetera. Yep. When you start to put those pieces together, you understand just the value of this rocket that you see on your screen right now. Absolutely has been critical and valuable, not only to Blue Origin, but for many other programs out there.
That's right.
Okay, well, Patrick, we are at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go. We continue to be in a hold here. Why don't we check out New Shepard as she continues to get ready for her flight to space. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. There is New Shepard on the pad, ready to rock and roll here. We continue to be in a hold while our teams are getting aligned. But while we've got a little bit of time, we talked quite a bit about the booster earlier. Why don't we talk about the crew capsule? We saw earlier today the crew rehearsal. They rehearsed all of those pre-flight operations, and we had two of our stand-in astronauts go inside of the capsule, do some communications checks with Capcom, et cetera, tested out some of the systems in there. But why don't we let you guys inside the capsule? Let's check out some of the features. So the capsule, like the one behind us here, has 6 windows, 6 seats. As we mentioned earlier, over a third of the capsule is windows. So as we said before, you know, when you're up there floating in space, there's just so much window, it's going to feel like you are out there in space. The seats that you see there, those are in-house designed and tested. They're based off of a helicopter seat, right? Because helicopter seats, we want the ability through that scissor mechanism that you see there, and also that Gary brought up earlier, to take out any last-minute energy if necessary. You see there in the middle, that's our escape motor as part of our safety system to be used if anything wrong is detected with the booster. You also see the white padding on the walls. That's to absorb extra noise, so you get as clean and beautiful and get to experience as much of the silence of space as possible. So this capsule, when we're flying people shortly, I mean, it's as beautiful on the inside as what you're going to see on the outside. But I should note that when we designed the interior of the capsule, we did so to celebrate, if you will, the engineering that went into there. So you see there's not too many bells and whistles on it. It's really quite simple, so that the astronauts, when they're up in space, they can experience space, because that's what it's all about, right? All right, so we're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go. We've introduced you to the capsule. New Shepard is on the pad, continuing to get ready for her launch today. So why don't we check her out? Thank you again, everybody, for joining us for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go. We continue to be in a hold here. While we're just going to continue to watch New Shepard as she gets ready for flight today. We're just aligning our teams and making sure that weather is in bounds.
This is the flight director on Channel 1 and UHF voice for the go poll for terminal count and launch. Capsule.
Go.
Booster.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Safety.
Rangers green. Go.
Engineering.
Go.
Capcom. This is the flight director. New Shepard is go for launch. Booster, commence the terminal count.
We'll go flight, and we still have step 104.
All right, everybody, we are go for launch. As we heard, we are at T-minus 10 minutes to go. The countdown clock has resumed. Phew. Let's do it, Patrick.
I know.
That was, we are always looking forward to a launch, and certainly after today, it's just so important that we make sure that we walk through all the checklists, make sure that everything is right, within bounds, and if we need to take a couple more minutes, even 40 of them, that's quite all right with us.
That's right. You don't want to have go fever. You want to do this right and by the book.
Exactly.
I do want to say, can you imagine if you were actually sitting in a capsule right now, you would have heard this go, no-go poll in your headset. And I think, at least for me, this is where it would have just completely broken out in goosebumps, just knowing that the launch
I am right now.
it would be so exciting.
All right, and now all eyes are on New Shepard. We're into our last minute checks. They are underway as New Shepard comes alive for flight. We have just a few minutes to go before final checks, so why don't we take a moment and walk through the booster and some of its key features. We did a little bit earlier in context of similarities and parallels to New Glenn, but let's focus on New Shepard. She really is the workhorse of the journey to space. As we mentioned before, New Shepard is powered by the BE-3 engine that's essentially fueled by water, liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. It propels the rocket to space and restarts for a controlled pinpoint landing on the pad. It's also uniquely throttleable, and that means it's able to slow the booster down to just about 8 kilometers per hour or 5 miles per hour for landing. And you can see at the top of the booster there's the ring fin, and the ring fin houses the drag brakes as well as the wedge fins. The wedge fins for stability, drag brakes to really cut down the speed. You'll see those will cut down the speed in about, that will cut the booster speed in about half.
So if you're just joining us or coming back, welcome back. We have made it through that 40-minute hold. That was a long one. And we are currently at T-minus 8 minutes and counting for the Blue Origin New Shepard launch of NS-15. This is the 4th New Shepard rocket. They'll be launching the crew capsule. If you've been with us all morning, we had a successful crew test of ingress and egress. and the capsule has been sealed. Mannequin Skywalker is on board, and they just did their go, no go, and it sounds like everything is green, and they gave the official we are go for launch. So we are currently counting down at T-minus 7 minutes, 30 seconds as we are awaiting the launch. Remember, this is going to be a quick flight, 10 minutes from launch to apogee to actual landing. The booster takes only about 8 minutes to do this trip as well. So we are here, but help us spread the word. Let people know that we are finally out of that hold. Share the broadcast. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And yeah, we're just going to keep listening in and bring you all the sights and sounds of today's launch, which will hopefully be the last one before we see a crew on board for the next mission. But let us listen in.
Exactly. And we should also mention the reusability element of it, which is critical, right? With our vision of millions of people living and working in space, we need the ability to turn the rocket around quickly, reuse it again, bring down the cost of access to space. All right, you're looking at a live shot of New Shepard on the pad. We are T-minus 6 minutes to go until flight. Why don't we take a look at her?
If you're watching over on Facebook, make sure take a second now or after the stream, join us over on our YouTube channel. Link is in the chat, and hit subscribe. We're just 5 subs away from our goal for liftoff. We got just over 5 minutes, so head on over, hit the subscribe button, help us hit our goal there, and you can stay up to date on any upcoming new videos, interviews, launch, landing, and testing coverage, and lots of other stuff over on the launch pad. We go live on Facebook for our launch and testing coverage, but we do a lot of other stuff over on our YouTube channel, so make sure to head over there and check it out. We're going to just listen in, give the sights and sounds of this launch attempt here. We're hoping we don't see another hold go into place, but it looks like they've gotten some blue sky that has opened up over the pad, so it was possible that they were waiting for that to clear off just so they had a clearer view of the rocket. Remember, these are still test flights, so they do want to have the best possible footage and everything there. So we're going to listen in. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat. We are sitting at T-minus 4 minutes and 40 seconds until launch of New Shepard.
Thank you again for joining us for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. You are looking at a live shot of New Shepard. She's just about to begin her final preparations for her 15th flight to space. We are at T-minus 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go until launch. So for those of you that are just joining us now, earlier in our show, we showed our astronaut experience crew rehearsal. Very exciting. That all seems to have gone perfectly well. And now we're ready for New Shepard's flight itself. So at T-minus 2 minutes, the rocket is going to go into autonomous mode. We throw the show over to her, and the rocket is in charge of itself from liftoff its entire flight to space and its landing back, the rocket itself on the landing pad just 2 miles north of the launch pad. In just a moment here, we are going to see the engine gimbal check, as well as what we call the built-in test, the bit checks. We want to make sure that we can move the aerodynamic surfaces freely so that they, just like an airline pilot does before his or her flight, to make sure they've got free range of motion. We also, at the top of the tower, of course, have the gantry that will also retract.
That's right, and Ariane, right there on the gantry, you see these big sun shields there. You know, one of the, you know, if you have 6 very large windows, like you said, and 60% of the capsule is actually windows by volume. Ah, there you go.
There it goes,
see the
retraction.
Retraction right there. So we actually need the those shades there just to keep the sun out of the capsule. We want to make the astronaut experience as comfortable as possible. We want to keep them in a nice, cool temperature. As I'm sure we don't want it to turn into a greenhouse with all of this big, beautiful windows. So what our team did is actually put these shades in. It makes it a great experience. And then, you know, now if you or I were in there, we'd be looking out and just...
Ready for launch.
Yes.
Ready for launch. A simple but beautiful solution. All right, there go the aft fin check. There are 4 of those fins at the base of the rocket.
We can see the final testing happening of the flaps there as they do final checks. We are T-minus 60 seconds until launch.
Eye out here, you see the nozzle peeking out of
If you're watching, can we see it? Are we a go? Let us know in the comments. Should we launch it? And we're going to listen in here.
The engine gimbal, of course, is critical, but in particular as it's coming into land. And Patrick, that takes us to launch for a T-minus 30 seconds. Why don't we hand it over to Mission Control for New Shepard's 15th flight
Here we go.
to space. It's going to be worth the wait, man. Godspeed, New Shepard.
Have a good flight, Mannequin Skywalker. I don't even know what flight he's done, but here we go. 15 seconds.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1.
And we have liftoff. Go, New Shepard, go. Beautiful liftoff from our launch site 1 in West Texas. You can follow along as she gains speed in the bottom left corner of your screen. There's the speedometer, altimeter in the middle there.
So we have some new overlays, it looks like, from them, giving us some ideas of some different looks at the velocity and the altitude and the sequence of events. So next up we're going to be seeing
First
is
milestone on our trip to space, max Q. That's when the dynamic pressure on the vehicle is at its maximum, the toughest point in flight for the vehicle. And max Q is confirmed.
we're going to switch over to this view so we can see that mission
All right,
clock
right about
there.
this time in your flight, on ascent, you're going to max at about 3 Gs. We've noted it before. The max Gs that you pull as an astronaut on New Shepard actually is on descent. So here on ascent, it's about 3 Gs, and it comes on gradually as you go faster and get higher up there. Until, of course, main engine cutoff and separation, and that is when you get to feel those beautiful 0 Gs. We're waiting for that here. Next stops, MECO and separation.
Already traveling 2,000 miles per hour, accelerating very quickly.
Coming up here on MECO, main engine cutoff. So far, a clean burn from our BE-3 engine.
That looked like Miko.
There it is, main engine cutoff.
And go for separation. Little hazy down there today. Hard to tell. I think that's separation. There's 0G.
All right, appears we have lost the link to the J layer. So far, though, everything appears to be nominal. So far, what we have seen, a clean liftoff. We did have max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That is essentially for the rocket the hardest point in the flight. And then
this is a cool view.
Main engine cutoff, and now, as you can see, separation. Here we've got our infrared camera, especially on the left side. As you've seen earlier in the show, it is a little hazy down there in Texas, so we are going to rely on multiple cameras here as the vehicle continues its ascent towards space. We have passed over just about here the Kármán line. There it is, 100 kilometers, or about 328,000 feet. If you were inside there, Patrick, you will have become an astronaut. And we're just waiting for the two craft to hit their apogee. You'll know they've hit apogee when the speed hits 0 in the bottom left corner of your screen.
Coming up on apogee, there's apogee, and we are now falling
there
back.
There is apogee just at about 346,000 feet. Of course, we're going to have official stats for you after the flight via Twitter, but so far so good. Patrick, looks to be a nominal flight of New Shepard. You see the booster on the right and the capsule on the left. This is when they've begun their descent. As we've seen in the past, obviously the booster is going to beat the capsule down to Earth, as it's more better aerodynamically shaped.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you again, everybody, for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We are 5 minutes into what appears to be so far a nominal flight for New Shepard. We, of course, preceded the launch by what appears to be a perfectly executed astronaut experience rehearsal. While there are no astronauts on board today, that was a critical step towards our march towards first human flight. All right, we've picked up our long-range cameras again. There you see the booster, the bottom of the screen, and the capsule on the top. At this point, the booster is re-entering the atmosphere. It means it's going to have air pressure against which those aerodynamic surfaces Patrick and I were walking you through can push against to guide the rocket back to its landing pad. And to think this rocket will have peaked at almost Mach 4, and it's, by the time it touches down, it's just going to touch down at about 8 kilometers per hour or 5 miles per hour. So relatively speaking, a nice soft landing. Critical, as we talked about reusability, the softer the landing, the quicker you can turn it around, right? You're not jostling the rocket, you're not jostling the hardware. You want to be able to flip it around nice and quickly. So there you see the aft fins. We also call them the pie fins because they're shaped like pie wedges.
Here it comes down again, and you're going to see here at those final few hundred feet, that engine will ignite and bring it almost to a hover moment.
Drag brakes, and there you see all the speed bleeding off of the vehicle, and waiting for our BE-3 engine to relight. There it goes.
There's the engine. Come on. Legs deploy. There's the pad.
Deployed.
And nice, smooth.
Oh, look at that smooth landing. And touchdown.
There we go.
Welcome back, New Shepard.
Oh my God, what a beautiful landing,
I think
right?
that was one of the smoothest landings I've seen of this rocket. It almost looks unreal.
Right.
It looks like CGI. I know some of you on the internet seem to think that. Believe me, that is a reusable rocket that takes off and lands. What a beautiful landing.
It looks like it's ready to go again.
Yeah, just
And here comes the
put in those
capsule.
drag brakes, put in the wedge fins, fuel her up. Let's go again. But until then, the show is not over. We do have the crew capsule here. On board, we have Mannequin Skywalker, as well as a couple of payload lockers filled with postcards from Club for the Future, from students from around the world. We are waiting to see the drogue chutes come out. They will be followed by the main parachutes. And a little wink from one of those big, beautiful windows. Look at that. There go the drogues. And here come the mains.
There we go.
All three parachutes are out. We're looking for full inflation, and there they go. I love that.
2, and they've got 3 good chutes. They can land even with just one of those chutes, so 3 good chutes is the best option. We have full chute deployment.
So far, so good. A nominal launch, nominal landing tool to come into land. We're at about 1,600 feet to go. And a nice smooth descent at about 16 or so miles per hour. Just at about 25 or so kilometers per hour. That is a nice smooth descent. There's the valley of our West Texas launch Site 1 as we call it. What a day so far, Patrick, let me tell you. Now, at 800 feet to go here, we should remind everybody that we do have the retrothrust system that kicks on just in the last moment. Basically, just creates a nice air cushion for the capsule so that if you, next time, hopefully, you know, when you and I are up in that capsule one day, we are going to be getting a nice air cushion underneath the capsule.
And we have touchdown.
And touchdown.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Absolutely spectacular. Patrick, I told you it was going to be worth the wait. Look at that.
Definitely. I love you. You can just see it just as it lands. You see that puff of air and it kicks up all that dust, but it's just such a gentle landing right there.
A beautiful launch and landing for both the crew capsule and the booster. Team Blue, congratulations to all of you. What a day. You should be so proud. And again, Patrick, soon, you know, if you're an astronaut on board, that is going to be a ride of a lifetime. Cannot wait to check out those onboard cameras to see the views that Mannequin Skywalker had today.
And he gets to have all the fun, gets to go everywhere.
I know, that guy. Jeez.
Now, to bring it all right back around, right, we started the day, you know, as exciting as this launch is, we actually started with, you know, the astronaut rehearsal, sort of on top of the normal launch preparation. And now we're going to bring it all back. Those same stand-in astronauts are going to go back out to the capsule. Once we open the hatch, they're actually going to get in, and we're going to practice and rehearse, essentially getting the astronauts out safely, getting them back into the van, have them reunite with their loved ones, and that.
So we're going to stay live here because one thing that's going to be different that we're going to be seeing is now that they're going to do another crew simulation, but with recovery. So we're going to see that same crew come back out to the landing site, and they are going to board, close the hatch, and then the recovery teams are going to do a simulation as if they were recovering. But we're going to see some of the comments that we missed in here. Mike, how many launches have we seen successful? All of them. So all 15 have now been successful. For them, obviously different things. They had abort tests and stuff in there, but that another successful, absolutely, Mr. 100% success, worth the wait. And yeah, those drone shots are absolutely gorgeous. They have really nailed down having those and stuff. But Mannequin Skywalker is back on the Earth. What is the cost going to take for a flight? We don't have exact costs yet. Blue Origin is very secretive of a lot of their different costs and things, but we are hopefully going to hear numbers here in the near future as they have opened up their email list. So if you want to know when pricing comes out, head on over to their website. You can sign up to get an email update when you can start to book seats there. Mr. Okay, thanks for stream dinner time finally. Have a good evening. Have a good night, Mr. Thanks for being here. Again, if you're new, make sure you hit the like button, follow us over on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, or get plugged in behind the scenes over on our Discord. We'd love to see you over there. All the links should be in the description below.
Now, once the astronauts would step out of the capsule, newly minted an astronaut, as we mentioned, it is time to celebrate. Now, simultaneously, we also have another team that is heading out to the booster to safe the vehicle and get it back to the barn. I mean, we joked about the quick turnaround. Obviously, we're not flying again today, but it's the keeping the costs of spaceflight down. You have to work on the operations, get those tight, get them quick to be able to reuse the vehicle as much and as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. That asset turnaround is absolutely key there. And again, the point of today's flight was to mimic the astronaut experience profile under real launch conditions, right? Astronaut loading is complex, launch is complex, doing them both together is super complex, and doing them well, and you saw that happen today, is going to be a huge step forward.
Patrick, what a great day. Actually, while we've got a moment, why don't we check out some of the highlights from today's launch and landing. So we had New Shepard on the pad there, a nice ignition. And a clean liftoff. Look her go. That rumble, you can see it in the cameras, and when you're down there in Texas, the whole valley feels like it's shaking when that 110,000 pounds of thrust is lit underneath the engine. And this angle. Patrick, this is one of my favorite angles. It's very reminiscent of, you know, the Saturn V taking off from the pad during the Apollo days.
Absolutely. Super, you know, super reminiscent, super vintage look. Now, this angle right here is one you would not have seen back in the Apollo days. But this is the kind of the cool thing about having these drones up there. So you can get these beautiful shots of the rocket just going by as it's flying up.
So close you can touch it,
I
right?
know.
All right, here comes the booster back for its soft landing. Again, Patrick, I think this is one of the smoothest, most controlled landings I've seen from this rocket.
It makes it look easy.
It's like it's just dangling from a string.
And that's one of the benefits of having such controllability in the engine, is you can really sort of dial that thrust in and ease your way down onto the launch pad.
Exactly, exactly. And talking about we were talking earlier about the lessons that we're taking from New Shepard and pulling into New Glenn. That throttle ability on the engines is critical. And then last but not least, of course, our capsule with a nice air-cushioned landing. And you can see, actually, the parachute's dropping pretty close to the capsule, meaning there's not too much wind there out on the ground today, which is beautiful. And now live shots from the recovery team that are out there. You can also see, again, we're in preparation of bringing the stand-in astronauts back. We're going to get them into the capsule so that we can practice the egress and taking out of the astronauts from the capsule. Again, coming to you soon. This has been such a critical step, this astronaut experience rehearsal in the march towards human spaceflight. Let's just take a look here. Setting up the stairs. It's a couple feet off. It's about a meter from the ground up to the hatch itself. So making sure they've got a nice, comfortable step out
Yeah.
onto the desert floor.
I'm sure my heart would have been beating so heavily through this. You know, I might be a little wobbly on my feet coming out of this thing, just having been literally up in space like just a few minutes ago.
Just incredible feeling, I can imagine. Cannot wait. 7, Kevin Sprogge there in the blue coveralls. He's done an incredible job, as well as Sarah Knights, our crew member 7. All right, some mission recap statistics here. These are unofficial. We will have the official ones after the flight. Maximum ascent velocity 3,615 kilometers per hour. Crew capsule apogee, its highest point in flight, 106,021 meters. Mission start time 11:51 a.m. Central Daylight Time, and mission elapsed time 10 minutes and 27 seconds. Just an incredible day.
Very cool, very cool. And to commemorate today's launch, you can definitely pick up some of our official NS-15 mission patches and other really cool swag from our shop, and you can go to shop.blueorigin.com to do that. There's a lot of cool things out there. I saw the mission patch earlier. It has the, the silhouette of the 4, stand-ins there. It's extremely cool. Yeah, there we go. I think Gary is the one on the left there.
Yeah,
maybe?
exactly,
I'm not sure.
exactly.
But it's a cool one. I'm definitely picking up one of those right after this.
Fantastic. So with that, Patrick, it is time to close out the show. Thank you so much for being my co-host.
Always my pleasure. Thank you
for
for having
wonderful
me.
launch. As I told you, worth the wait for all of you as well. Thank you for staying with us for the whole flight, New Shepard's 15th flight to space and back. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram for all the latest updates. And please continue to stay safe out there. Until our next launch, as always, good autumn for Rossiter.
And that is it. They have ended it there. They're going to be doing their rehearsals now with the recovery team and stuff as we saw them put the seats out. But that was it. It's been worth the wait. We've been here for 3 hours for this test. They're a little bit late. Nice big 40-minute hold there. But continue with their 100% successful rate of their missions, successful launch, apogee and recovery of both the booster and the capsule. Everything looked good. We saw those first video angles they were showing from the launch, and there'll be lots of videos I'm sure they will tweet out. So make sure you follow us over on Twitter at TLPN. We've been live tweeting the launch, and we will make sure to tweet out those videos as soon as they come in, or pictures. Again, if you have any questions, you can always reach us over on Twitter or Facebook at TPL_official. Plug in behind the scenes over on our Discord, and make sure you never miss a new video by subscribing to us over on YouTube. But thank you so much for joining us here on the launch pad for our live coverage of Blue Origin's New Shepard NS-15. Hopefully, NS-16 is the first ones where we see crew go to space with Blue Origin on New Shepard. This is Zach with the launch pad signing off. Have a great day, everyone.